I didn't feel like it got very dark here.
My husband goes, is that all?
Right.
Barry, can you hand me a minute? I'm just gonna want to have it ready.
You know,
Barry, do you have
this has become a.
Barry, you want us to sing for you today?
No, let's don't.
Okay.
Let's don't.
Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. We're in it. Always right here.
Happy birthday.
Get everybody plugged in. I think I got yours. Are they the same?
Good morning. Welcome to this special birthday edition of Commissioners Court on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. It is 10:03. I call this meeting to order. If everyone would please rise, Commissioner Mahler is going to give us our invocation.
Which one?
Wait a minute. I had this problem once before. Anyway, pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today to thank you for the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us, and they are so many. Living in this great country, the greatest country on the earth where we have freedoms. And Lord, it's our responsibility to work to make sure that we maintain that and we maintain this lifestyle that has made this country so prosperous and so great. And one of the ways we will do that is by reviewing our history and knowing from whence we came and the many good things that came from that. And we're going to talk about that this morning as we move forward. Lord, we just ask that you would be with our country, our leaders. We'd ask that you watch over our military personnel serving locally and globally, that you would watch over our first responders as they go about their business of taking care of each and every one of us. And Lord, we'd ask that you'd put your hands on our county family. We have members of our family that have lost loved ones. We have members of our family who have people close to them that are sick and ailing and need your help and need your comfort. And we just ask that you would provide that, Lord, because we know you are the great physician and you're the ones that care for us and in the end have paid the price to offer us everlasting life. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here, represent this county, and work with these people each and every day to try to make our life better. We ask these things in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join us for the pledge to the U.S. flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. All right. This time we will have a presentation of the Excellence in Safety Award to our Human Resources staff by Steve Owens, Risk Control Consultant, Texas Association of Counties. Mr. Owens, you come forward. And let's go ahead and have our HR staff come forward as well.
Barry, I think they're different. Is that?
Go ahead, Mr. Owens.
No, they're the same. No, I just got
Okay, so
or maybe it's not plugged
this
in.
award is, we have it for the HR staff, it's actually for the entire county, to recognize you guys for being a safe county and ensuring that your employees doing everything you can to ensure your employees get home every day safely. I am the risk control consultant for this region. I took over when Jack Coffey retired last year, so that is my job every day, is just to make sure that I can do everything for your guys to get home safe every day. So that's why we're here. Rita Five is here as well, and I just wanted to say a couple of things before we present. So this award is given out every year to the counties that demonstrate going above and beyond to ensure safety for your county and your employees. And so in order to do that, the county has to provide a certain amount of training to the employees. You have to have certain policies in place, which you guys have everything done. We do an audit of that, and y'all were gracious enough to have me come and do the training as well. So I appreciate that. So by meeting all those standards, you qualify for the Excellence in Safety Award, which is the highest safety award that we in the risk management pool give you. So from the risk management pool and me and TAC in general, we really do appreciate everything that you do to keep your county a safe county. And so if y'all don't mind, we'd like to take a picture, and then that would be it. Present it to you.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Or you sit that way.
Okay.
Make sure we got everybody in.
One, two, three.
That would not be good.
Awesome.
Well, and
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
One, two, three. Got it.
We also need to make sure that Kenneth doesn't think he's gonna get to come to court every week.
Can I just give you guys my card real quick? Thank you, like I said,
You bet.
Thank
Thank you for coming up. Good to see
There's
you
not
again.
very many there are counties that receive it, but I will tell the Commissioners Court that it's a very big honor to receive this because you do put in a lot of effort, and so not everyone receives it. And there are a lot of steps involved in order to receive it, and so just to know that you have put forth the effort to do this and actually been able to receive it, that's amazing. Very good job. 12 to 15 this year. It's not very many at all.
Wow. Top 5%.
about 5%.
Fantastic.
It is, it's
Very
awesome.
good.
It's very
Thank
good.
y'all for having us.
Thank y'all for coming
Have a
up.
great day.
Thank you. Thank you. One more time for our HR staff.
You know, Judge, just a quick comment. When I came on this court, our workman's comp rate was quite a bit higher than it is now. And so being safe is not only good for the individuals working here, for their families and everybody else, it saves our taxpayers money. And that's a good thing. So it's a win-win, and we're proud of what our staff's done and the efforts they made, and we want to see everybody go home safe every day.
Yep.
That's important.
Well said. All right, our next item is a presentation. Wichita County Historical Commission will present their yearly report and will provide information on upcoming marker events. Good morning, Ms. Trammell.
Good morning, Judge Johnson and the commissioners. Thank y'all for having us again this year. Every year, the Wichita County Historical Commission is required to submit a report to the Texas Historical Commission concerning our activities. This year, commission members performed over 4,000 hours in volunteer time. This volunteer time included interviewing. We've started a project of interviewing people and getting oral histories. This includes presentations that we make to community organizations, schools. Call us, we'll come and talk. Also, a lot of this time is research. If you can, I will recognize Carol Rudd, who is our chief archivist, and also Robert Palmer, who is the chair of the program. We do a lot of research for people in the community. I think in the last few weeks, we've gotten calls from people who are writing books, who are doing family history, who want to know the history of this building that they have bought or are researching. They come to us for that. So we have been busy. Some of the projects that we've specifically worked on this past year are one that we're calling the Centennial Project. Organizations, churches, schools that have existed in our county and been performing in our county for over 100 years, we have reached out to them and presented them with a plaque concerning honoring really their time in the community. Some of these have been, what's the women's group in Iowa Park, Robert?
The 23 study group.
The 23 Study Club has existed over 100 years. We met with the Burt Burnett ISD celebrating their 100th anniversary. So we will continue to do that. We think it's fun. We think it's a great way to recognize those entities. We've also entered into a partnership with Texas Tech University for the digitization of microfilm and microfiche. We received microfilm and fiche from the local library. We've also received a lot from the Times Record News. We entered into a partnership with Texas Tech, particularly Ty Creedler, and they are digitizing those things so that they will be available to be put online so that you don't have to really come to us and pull out the little microfiche anymore. You can find that information online. One project that Carol personally has taken on is one that we're calling the Wichita County Scrapbook. One of the things that people do when they give to the archives is they will give us their scrapbooks we have scrapbooks from a number of community groups. Well, what Carol is trying to do is to pull information from all of those scrapbooks, particularly one that she has been working on is one having to do with Terrible Tuesday, which that is coming up this week, our anniversary. I think it's 45?
Yeah.
45
Maybe it
years?
is 45.
45 years this year. And if you don't remember where you were that day, you weren't here, because lots of us
Wow.
remember exactly where
45
they.
years, that's unbelievable.
Isn't that amazing? I saw that, I think it was on the news last night, and I was floored by that, absolutely floored, because I was 22 then, and I'm still 22 now. So, and I also want to particularly thank Judge Johnson for his support that you've provided to the archives. You might not think that an organization that's devoted to paper needs all of this IT help, but gosh, we need it, because there's so many technical aspects to the preservation and making that information available to the community. Also, I would like to recognize Vaughn Dotson, who came over and made the phone so it doesn't ring 50 jillion times a day. Thank you very much. Carol appreciates that very much.
Van is our phone expert on the spot.
You did a wonderful job for us, really. Precinct 2 has been marker busy this year. First of all, the marker commemorating the 10th Cavalry Creek was mysteriously mown down. Robert Palmer discovered that the marker had been damaged. My husband and I went out. The marker was just like sitting on the pole. I got the marker. We took it home. I refinished it a little bit. And then I want to particularly, and the commission wishes to particularly thank Big State Welding, Ricky Ferguson. They were the only place in town that could weld aluminum, because it's a very specialized procedure. And the pole was damaged, and Ricky said, well, let me see what I can do. Well, by gosh, he provided us with a steel pole, which had been powder coated to resemble the aluminum. They affixed the marker back to the pole, put bolts through it, did the whole bit, charged us not a dollar. So please, I so appreciate that. Judge Johnson had been working with me on, getting the money from the county to get it fixed and everything. They did that for free. I particularly want to thank Jimmy Lowry and the Precinct 2 crew. Got out there, we delivered it one day, they had it up the next day. Wow. Moving it away from the road a little bit, so hopefully that won't happen again, but you never know. Also, I want to thank Precinct 2 for their work on the newest historical marker in Wichita County, Providence Baptist Church, which we have been waiting on. I will not tell you how long we've waited for that marker. I think it came in, got to the church, 2 days later, and it was up, had a nice presentation, dedication of that marker for a church that is over 100 years old. To kind of finish up the marker report, I want to tell you that I found this out yesterday. The last Friday in April is National Historic Marker Month. Well, that's the day, and then May is the month. If you see markers in your precincts that need renovation, we are looking for those that are faded out. We can't do anything for bullet holes, but we can certainly refinish, clean those markers up. Please let me know, because we're looking for those markers. I think they did 7 or 8 last year. One of them was Zenobia Trimble out in Lakeview Cemetery. Another was the marker commemorating the bridge across Wichita River. So please, if you see those markers that need a little help, let us know, because we're looking for them. And finally, I would like, on a marker note, I'd like to invite all the commissioners to attend our next marker dedication, which is scheduled for Saturday, April the 20th at 11 a.m. at the Wichita Falls Regional Airport. We will be dedicating the marker to Jimmy Hudson Culp, a former Electra resident, flyer, member of the 99s, and it would have been 100 had Jimmy got there on time, I hear. So please plan to attend that. You'll be getting emails, and we'll have things out in the media on that. We would certainly like for you to attend. This event is being hosted by the Wichita chapter of the 99s and the Wichita County Historical Commission. I would also like to invite the members of the commission to come to our monthly historical commission meetings. We meet the first Thursday of the month at noon at the Museum of North Texas History. This month, we road tripped down to 812 Scott and toured the historic Buchanan Printing Building. Mike Morford and his wife Penny graciously invited us to come. They are now living in the building, and we got to look and see where all the printing presses were and the wonderful job that they have done. Last month, Torrin Halsey, who is a former photographer, Commissioner Beecham came, former photographer for TRN, gave a really good presentation on his view of Wichita County through his camera lens. It was fun, and we had a number of people there, very enjoyable. One more thing before I get out of here, I will change hats for a moment. I'm currently the acting director of the Museum of North Texas History, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Beecham for his help in our building, period. We appreciate the responsiveness to our calls and the assistance that you've provided us. We're currently in a major renovation project for the Ralph Harvey exhibit hall. We are hoping to get that completed this month, and we'll have an event for that. We also, knock on wood, are getting a marker for Ralph Harvey, and that will be affixed to the building there on 720 Indiana. If you don't know who Ralph Harvey is, by gosh, come on down, we'll tell you. You should. That's true, Commissioner Watts, that's true. You should know who Ralph Harvey was. And that completes my report. If there's any questions or comments. Yes, sir.
I want you to explain to me the difference, if you would. So the museum that's beside Midwestern, and your museum here.
Correct.
How does the Midwestern Museum support itself?
You'd have to talk to Midwestern.
But I mean, is it the university? Or
My understanding is that is a university entity.
okay, and there maybe with their affiliation, they keep it shored up and the project's moved. But
Correct.
the endowment, or no endowment exists for the North Texas.
We
Right.
have an endowment thanks to Ralph Harvey's family.
So you have money here to support the function of all the work that goes on in the Linderman building through the two groups you just mentioned us. They are underwritten by all the work you do, like with the 23 Study Club. That's separate and apart from the North Texas Historical
Correct.
Museum.
Correct. The archives and the museum are separate entities. The archives is under the purview of the Commissioner's Court.
And it really doesn't have anybody supporting it as far as, just funds that keep you going.
Well, the
To
county.
buy all the supplies you'd need to furnish the 23 Study Club.
We have a small budget provided by the county. And the
Okay.
county funds the salary of the archivist.
Okay.
And
But-
that's the extent of the support received by the archives, Wichita County Archives.
Okay, but if the county wasn't here tomorrow and you had to pay the electric bill on Indiana, you could do it.
No.
The
No.
museum could do it.
No.
Oh, that endowment is very small.
We could do it for maybe, gad, I don't know exactly.
Just
what-
guess.
Guess, 2 years.
2 years, okay.
The museum, I'm sad to say this, the museum cannot support itself with our current membership and our current donor base.
But outside of Ralph Harvey, we don't have other area people to give you funds to make
give-
changes and do all that.
to be
So
very-
we need to
be-
need to step up in that regard if we wanted to see the museum be self-supporting and standing on its own. You need twice the money, or annual money flowing 3 times the money. Gotcha. Okay, well, that helps me understand, because I didn't know the difference. So Midwestern must be paying the light bill for the one over there, and I've got you, okay.
Yeah, and again, I'm sad to say that the museum does not support itself.
Okay,
Our biggest cost for the museum itself is our staff.
sure.
We scrimp, we save. I am working on 2 grants right now. I have an interview on Thursday, and I have a proposal I've got to get together for 1 grant. We have most of the renovation that we're doing on the Ralph Harvey Assembly Hall is from grants.
Okay.
We have had some very generous people in the community give us donations, but as I said, those donations, they pay the salaries.
Sure.
They buy the paper. They do those things that the county does not provide for us.
And what you're doing is essential to Wichita County. It preserves our heritage.
Yes.
And it lets people know where we stand, and so it's a worthy cause that, I just wanted to fully understand that difference.
Please spread the word that we're
Okay,
a worthy
you
cause.
bet.
Please, because we could use the help. Like I said, we could use, gosh, to have another endowment or another 2 endowments like we have. We could do some things. If Douglas James were here, he'd be talking about the 2nd floor.
Well,
But-
I see him at campfire, and he does talk about the second floor.
He mentions that pretty regularly.
He does, I thought I'd bring it up since he's not here to mention it today. But yeah, there's a number of things that we could be doing. For example, right now, I have a large room that I envision having 3 new exhibits in. But as with most things, my thinking doesn't have feet under it just yet. And to get those feet, we have to have donations, we have to have grants. And that's why, it's ear to the ground on, is there some money somewhere that we can shake
Sure.
out of a tree?
I understand.
Well, case in point, when TRN decided to disperse of those archives, where else would they have gone if you guys,
Oh, that's
they'd
right.
be
I
in
mean,
landfill.
that is so much history, it's unreal,
And-
of
and
our area.
It is unimaginable, the things that are in those files
Yeah,
that we don't know about.
and I'm glad you're getting them changed, because I'm sure microfiche is a degrading, it degrades over time, I would assume, like a lot
And
of
we
other
do
things.
have a microfiche reader that they gave
Wow.
us, and a microfilm reader. If you have never done much research in front of a microfilm or microfiche, you're sitting there and you're rolling and rolling and rolling, and it takes forever. The project with Texas Tech, Ty Creedler has done so much for us in that partnership to get those things digitized so that we can get them online.
Fantastic. And just so you know, I hope you pester Lynn Walker to death, and that he comes and does. He's a phenomenal mind about the same thing Robert Palmer is. He just does that, and it's incredible the history he can dig when he decides to write on a mansion over here in Wichita Falls. It's incredible. I love that more than, and we're never letting Lynn, he can't retire from the paper. He has to come to the museum or be in the museum. I don't know which one.
Lynn has had a relationship with the archives. I think he and Carol talk daily now. But I mentioned we road tripped down to 812 Scott to the Buchanan building. Guess who showed up? Lynn Walker was
Good.
there, and he really enjoyed being there. And matter of fact, Lynn is going to be one of our speakers to the Historical Commission upcoming.
Oh, great.
So we're really looking forward to that. But yes, I wish more people would come to the museum. There is still not a week go by that I'm in the museum that someone doesn't come up and say, I didn't know there was a museum here. And they're looking around like,
Sure.
wow, look
And-
at all these things.
And us guys can do a better job of saying, hey, would you consider helping, and we should do that more. And we just, it hadn't been paramount on our minds, and we apologize for that.
You look at at large museums, and I know I'm running on, I'll keep talking as long as you let me. You look at other museums, at the corporate underwriters that come in, we have not one corporate underwriter.
Yeah.
We have big entities around this area, and we have not one corporate underwriter. And we'd really like to have
Yeah.
one.
Well, I mean, we've got great business in Wichita County. I can think of your utility companies, think of your gas companies, think of all the people that depend and do their business in Wichita County that could be, well, I've never taken the time, that's my fault that I've never taken the time and asked somebody to please consider or look at or think about doing that. So, I mean, we are rich in that kind of thing. We just need to stand up and move forward, so.
We would appreciate it very much,
Great.
truly.
Becky, thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Fantastic.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
for what you do.
Anytime we have a question, anytime y'all have a question, please feel free to let us know. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It is 10:27. We will open up for public comment. As a reminder, we ask that comments be limited to 5 minutes or less, and that action cannot be taken on any item brought up during public comment. Does anyone have any public comment this morning? Yes, sir.
Judge, in reiterating what Commissioner Muller always reminds us, I'm cautious about fire. I know we've been lucky and things have been damp, but the day's coming quickly, and I felt so worried this weekend with the wind. 40-mile-an-hour wind is just incredible in some material and so I felt like I couldn't distance myself from our new portables, because in case that Barry's trying to call, or the fire chief's trying to call any of us to get something, I just want everyone to consider to keep that in the forefront of their minds when they're doing something outside, whether it's burning the leaves from getting ready to do the garden or the flower beds or whatever, and they pile them and say, this little pile won't matter. Well, it could matter.
Yeah. Okay. Seems like that, unfortunately, is always a timely reminder. Any other public comment this morning? Okay. It is 10:28 and public comment is closed. Let's move to the consent agenda. It's a fairly lengthy list of items. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any items on the consent agenda?
Judge, I do, and I'd like to, I don't know the appropriate way to do it, but Margaret's here, and I noticed this on every item, starting with item 1. I want to understand why today's date is April the 9th. This Harbor Freight invoice of $129.99 is just now, I'm assuming, being paid. Now, Harbor Freight is just like, I assume, monthly sends statements, as do all these people here, but now we're in the 4th quarter, and we're just now closing tickets of small amounts, some of them larger amounts, to these people in our community, or that do business with us, and I do not understand that, Margaret.
Okay, on Harbor Freight in particular, they do not send monthly statements. What happens is the person will go to the store, they get a receipt, and this did not happen this time. No one turned in a receipt, but we don't pay from that receipt because Harbor Freight sends an invoice after the fact, and the invoice number on the invoice never matches the ticket. So we learned years ago we paid double because they don't match, so we hold the receipt till we get an invoice. Now Harbor Freight has closed everybody's account nationwide, the type of account that we had. We discussed that one day in court. My assumption is when they were closing our account, they found this. It is very unusual for Lee Burgoyne to have a ticket that he did not turn in, but lo and behold, there have been 2 now.
When did they close the account that we were
I
all
would
utilizing?
say about a month and a half ago it started. I didn't know till the guys started calling me. Sam
And so
called
how
me.
do we charge today at Atwoods when my
cannot.
guys
We
go?
don't.
Yeah,
You
my
cannot.
guys go and get supplies at Atwoods, and I don't give them a
Not
card.
anymore. You can't do it.
At
I mean,
Atwood you do, not Harbor Freight.
Not Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has closed our account. You
No,
can no
I'm
longer-
talking Atwoods on item number 1.
Well, that's hard.
That's
Oh, it's
Harbor
Freight.
Harbor
Freight.
Freight. Okay.
That's Harbor Freight. So
that's
when they sent us this deal that said, hey, you have this outstanding thing, I immediately sent it to all 3 of the girls who pay, and I said, does anybody holding this receipt? I wouldn't think they would have been, it was so old. They said no, and I said, someone get on it and get the ticket. It took a while. They finally sent us a copy of the signed ticket. It was Lee Burgoyne. So I contacted Dwayne and I said, can you tell me if this toolbox exists? And he said, yes, it's on such and such trailer. So I put it on the agenda to be paid because it's our bill, we have to pay it. But we didn't know about it. We've
So
not received it.
Harbor Freight closed our account a month ago.
Approximately, yes.
And then, so they didn't send invoice to you in January, February that this surfaced.
I think they just found it, like maybe it was lost on their side is my guess, because like I said, what happens normally is your guy goes into Harbor Freight, he purchases something, sends us the receipt. Because when they send the invoice always says the Wichita County Sheriff's Office. It never has a signature on it, never says what department bought it.
But in January, when you got the invoice from Harbor Freight, did you balance to every item that
We
Harbor
didn't
Freight had
get-
listed?
they don't do that. They don't send statements, and we didn't get that invoice in January.
No, you told me up until they just changed a month ago that Harbor Freight sent an invoice to the county.
They send an invoice every time an individual goes. They don't send it monthly. John Doe goes to the store and he buys this, in a week or two, we get that invoice, only that invoice, no statement.
And-
Somebody else goes 3 days later, in a week or two, we get one invoice.
And how do you know when you get Harbor Freight's invoice from January, who to even contact that would have bought an item?
If we usually have the receipts from the department, if we don't, then we have to contact Harbor
There's
Freight.
no identifying factor
No,
on
there's
Harbor
nothing.
Freight.
Pretty much that first sheet that you have on your agenda packet is kind of what we get from them for an invoice. That's a statement, but we've never got a statement before. So we asked them for an invoice, and the invoice didn't have anything on there. It said what it always says: Wichita County Sheriff's Office.
Why wouldn't we change the invoice back when Harbor Freight was sending all invoices to the sheriff's department? How did you deal with my purchases?
Your guys turn in a ticket, so when I get an invoice from Harbor Freight, I send it to all 3 girls and say, I don't know who has this receipt, but here's the invoice.
But
Then they take it.
But didn't that show up under the sheriff's department?
They all
my
do.
ticket?
Because
But why didn't
Harbor
we
Freight,
change
because
that
Harbor
Harbor
Freight chose to do that. Harbor Freight chose to do that. I guess the sheriff's office was the first one to go in.
But we never called and put it in Wichita County, all Wichita County.
No, because they didn't want to. They don't care. Sometimes
Who
it is
doesn't want to? Harbor
Freight?
Freight?
Because it's just like, okay, for instance, change of vendor, but the city of Wichita Falls has the water bills under crazy names under the name of it.
Yeah, but I've always
And they
found
won't
if I
change
called
it.
the city of Wichita Falls, discussed it with the right person, then I could change that account so that it was
I
not confusing to the world.
Then I would like who you spoke with, because I've called multiple times over all the years that I've worked there, and they've always told me the same thing. They will not change
Who
the name
did you
of it.
speak to at corporate?
Whoever answers at the city, I answered.
No, I'm talking corporate at Harbor Freight that
Well,
told
they're-
you that.
Oh, I mean, the girls found the ticket. I don't know who. I mean, it depends on who's calling, Jeff. I
But
mean,
they're
we don't
done,
write
they're
it
not
down.
doing it anymore.
I mean,
Corporate
we don't have them
thing.
anymore.
But
now.
I found that I had to, Margaret, get to the right person. If
Well, I
I
understand-
wanted to change and I wanted to fix the game so it works, I have to find the right person, because the girl that says, hey, no, because she's wanting you off the phone so she can look at her Facebook, that girl I don't want to talk to, she can't help me, but her boss might.
But the thing is it. In the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't matter. If it said Wichita County, I still don't know whose ticket it is.
It does matter, because the Pike passes, if you notice, they come precinct 2, precinct 5, sheriff's department, all one
No,
entity
no, I got
billing
you.
us cleanly, and you can check those.
But do you know
and
who
say,
puts the precinct 2 and sheriff's office? We do. Those numbers come from us. That bill just comes
Absolutely.
under one account.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't we have every account like that we do business
I
with?
don't
and
understand. I mean, it says sheriff, but it's not a big deal because we have the tickets. I don't know what that matters. I mean, I
It
understand
matters
what
that
you're
it's
saying.
April and we've not paid an
they
invoice
wouldn't have
from at
sent it-
least December. It may be older than that.
It's
No,
older
it's
than
from
that.
August.
That's correct. That's because Lee Burgoyne did not turn in the ticket, and we have no way of knowing if Harbor Freight doesn't send us an invoice. It didn't matter how it was invoiced. They never sent
Well,
it to
so
us.
we should never have that problem again because Lee retired now, right?
No, that's incorrect, because if somebody else doesn't, it won't happen there because we don't have an account. But if somebody else doesn't turn in a ticket because it flies out their window or whatever reason it is, we can't prevent that.
I agree to that, and I do think it's very important that all those people turn in those invoices, and we have to reiterate that continuously because that's the only way you can check. But I know Munis will, when that statement number goes in, if you're posting to another statement number, you are double paying it. And do I believe we double pay? All the time I believe we double pay.
I get what you're saying.
And you would never catch it, Margaret, because you paid the statement from Harbor Freight under this number. You posted it under this ticket under another number, and they two
That's
never
why we don't
collide.
pay from the receipts. We have several vendors, Thomas Pump and Equipment, Harbor Freight. The receipts don't match what they send in an invoice. We learned years ago, don't pay from those receipts. We hold them so we know who they belong to. If we pay from those receipts and then we get another one and we find out who that invoice belongs to, we can double pay because the numbers don't match.
We do, I know
So
we do.
that is why we don't do it. We didn't get a receipt from Harbor Freight, and we never got an invoice from Harbor Freight. I think it was a glitch in their system. When they shut all the accounts down, it probably popped everything up that was ever owed, because I can never remember in all the time that I've worked for the county that we ever got a statement
So
from
you're-
Harbor Freight, except for when they sent that one with that one on there.
So my guys cannot go to Harbor Freight today and
Nobody
buy
can,
anything?
no. And that's-
We don't, is what you're telling me.
They
Wichita
changed-
County can't
they
do it.
changed, nobody can. Nationwide, they canceled the type of account we have. We have to get a credit card.
We can go
Well,
with
that's
the credit
what my
card.
whole
Yeah.
problem,
If you
my
have-
whole,
You can't go
Wait,
with y'all's credit
Yeah,
cards.
I've had to call you. We've had to call your
You
office.
can call
to-
me, I can pay for it, we can do different things, we can kind of finagle it, but you cannot charge in-house at Harbor Freight anymore.
well, all of, I'm just used to the corporate world of trash where all the foremen were responsible for their debit cards, their purchase cards, and that they had to account for those purchase cards. So when Jack, my foreman, goes, he gives whoever he sent that purchase card and they utilize it. And when it comes in, you know exactly who made
But we
that
don't
purchase.
have purchase cards for that.
I'm just saying,
I'm-
I'm just
I'm
saying
not-
that's how it works. And it doesn't have to involve 19 people to get this Harbor Freight saw that we needed to cut something out of our way because we're on the side of the road out there. Now we've impacted ourselves and we do this huge hoopla to go buy a tool that the rest of the world has solved it a different way and not encountering that. That's just what I'm saying.
I understand, but you're talking to the wrong person, Jeff.
Okay.
I have
Well, I'm just saying. And so when I go through here, Judge, on these others, I find the exact same thing.
Well, so, I mean, I know you probably did, but, so, we're talking number 3. That has a receive date, I think, of additional claim information of April 16th, 2024. The same is gonna be true on number 4. On number 5. And Margaret, you're free to correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but I'm just looking at the backups of, it looks like, and again, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, we probably received an original request on the original received date when those are at the top of the document. Some of them are in February, I think. But then there's an additional claim information stamp of April 16th, 2024.
Are you talking about number 5?
3, 4, 5, they're all
Okay,
like
so
this.
anything that has to do with the indigent health care, we hold to see if their IEP pending, to see if they're gonna get Medicare, or Medicaid, whatever it is. And so we can't do anything with it, and we can't pay it. This happens all the time, constantly. It's not a big deal, except for that it took this many months and 2023 is closed. So this happens continually. We can't pay those right away because we have their pending decisions that are made. And I used to do indigent health care myself. That's just the way it works.
Well, read me number 11. Read number 11 for me and help me understand.
Hold on.
Oh,
Commissioner
These-
Beecham had one on that.
On 3, these charges were for IEP pending clients?
That they should be, yes. I mean, I would have to, let me look at the
Okay,
attachment.
well, let's pull 3 off and settle it next week, because I want to ask that question too.
Well, I can look at the attachment if you want me to, if you give me a second. I mean, it's up to you, obviously, but
Well,
it should say, it'll say in the corner, she would have handwritten, honestly, IEP. I'm just trying to look at my document to see. I don't have it in front of me like you guys
we've
do.
got, we have these from time to time.
Yes.
We do, and I understand that. We don't usually have them in April. We don't usually pay claims this far out.
It can happen, it can take several months. I've had them take up to a year, honestly, to get an answer. And I don't know why, and I don't remember why. It's been 100 years since, I've done 10 years since I've done indigent healthcare. If you look up at the top of those, they're marked IAP and then they're scratched out. As soon as she gets notice, then she can pay it. So if it's marked IAP, that's why. They were holding it for a decision.
Now that later mark further down, April 16th, 2024, is that when it was cleared up?
I'm gonna get, let me see, I just,
So that same
We're
one-
looking at the same,
Yeah,
the
that
same
same one.
I
ticket.
understand. I closed out of it, I apologize, let me look real fast.
Which one are you
These
looking
are
at? I
minor
don't find
amounts,
the April
obviously,
one.
but it's.
I mean, I hate to delay paying them anymore, it's not our fault they were delayed, obviously, but,
Additional claim information.
And I can agree with what Jeff's saying, because when I read the agenda, I thought the same thing. I thought, this is ridiculous. We're paying bills in April that should have been paid in
I know,
twenty
but-
twenty-three.
But there's not a single bill on there
And I,
that we
and I know,
received, but.
and I went back reviewing them
Except for
also.
the-
I think there's probably several of us that went back reviewing those.
Yes,
But
We just don't like, I don't like to see it as a habit of this county to be paying their bills.
yeah, and I understand the medical side of the
Yeah.
equation, and medical world's its own medical world.
Right.
And that's to be, but read item number 11, Margaret, for me, if you would.
Well, I don't
hey,
think she needs to
Brendan, will
read
you pull it
11.
up
Well,
real quick?
I-
so
I
have
can't
to
read it,
let
so-
off figure it.
Well, I was-
Okay,
the
so, that was for a membership renewal for Tim Putney
In what year?
for 2023.
2023, we're paying a membership renewal.
Chief McFerrin, you want to speak to this?
Yes, sir. I talked to Putney yesterday about that, the officer is involved. This was an oversight on the USPCA's part. I talked to him when they paid it initially, or when they were invoiced, because they usually paid it with a credit card, but they decided to do an invoice for this year for whatever reason. His was left off because he's different. His dog is different. It's treated different than the rest of them. And his was left off. That date was the day they paid for everybody else's canine, all of our other canines. His was treated different because he wasn't there. Long story, and I don't want to get into it here, but he wasn't available for renewal, and this is just how they're documenting it. So this isn't the
But
auditor's
we're
problem,
backing
it's
up, and he's required to have membership every year. We're backing up and paying the 2023 membership dues.
Right.
That he's required to pay. We
Yes, sir,
can't
we
just
didn't
move on to
catch-
2024.
Yes, sir, we didn't catch that he wasn't on that renewal until later this year. So what the USPCA did was just go back and add him to it, and that was the original invoice.
Okay,
So-
okay, because it certainly didn't make any sense to me.
Yes, sir, yeah, same thing, when I saw that on the agenda Friday, I started asking questions and Putney explained it to me. So that was an oversight on our part.
Good, no sweat. No.
One of the things on some of this medical stuff, and I know my personal experience has been that if you've got money you owe United Regional, they never send a bill, they send a late notice. And I don't know why, I've asked numerous times and nobody can tell me, a demand letter. Like, if you'll send me a bill, I'll pay it. You never get one. I don't understand that concept.
No.
But isn't that exactly what's happening here?
A lot could be,
It's
exactly.
like, we're gonna turn you over to collection if you don't pay this. Well, send me you have no idea what it's for.
Well, they're
It's
pretty
just-
good about billing for indigent healthcare. It's just the situation that the person is in that we have to hold it until we get a decision whether they got the Medicaid or not, or because we're not gonna pay it if they end up getting it. But if they don't get it, then we have to go back and we have to pay from the date they became indigent. They were eligible to be indigent. We go backwards and we'll pay them.
Okay. And Judge, on, so item 13? So, Jared is doing the renewal, but Mike also has his software in precinct 1.
Okay.
Would we not collectively put this together and do a one-time management stating what belongs to 1, what belongs to 2, and renew our agreement with Collogic as of
I
1?
don't know if Mike got a hold of Nancy or not. I know Jared sent that to Nancy. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly could. I don't know if, and again, because I don't think, I haven't talked to Constable Little about it, but I don't know if the renewal dates are at the same time or not, and so they're just coming up differently. We can always put folks under the same umbrella, but
Well, I'm just thinking that 2 years from now, when we look back and Nancy searches for Collogic, she's gonna have to deal with all of the Collogics that pull. It'll be Mike's and Jared's. And if we could unify it and make it more organized annually, it would be easier to understand and do.
yeah,
Maybe Mike needs to pay a partial year and we just get back on the same exact schedule.
yeah. If you want to reach out to him and ask him to bring that to us, we're more than happy.
Okay, so could we table this for now and, okay.
Is there any objection to pulling item number 13 off the consent agenda?
I can speak to that just a little bit.
Okay.
Because I spoke with Cologic.
Will you come up to the microphone?
I'm sorry. I spoke with Cologic this week.
Uh-huh.
That's just because they're on different agreements. Even though they may pay out at the same time, they do have them on two separate, specific user agreements. That's the only reason they do that. And it just, by blind luck, I just happened to talk to Cologic this week about that. It wasn't
We
designed.
probably can negotiate Mike's to get his agreement in conjunction, pay the annual amount, maybe shorted, but let him work it out so that our dates are the same and going forward.
Speaking out of school, okay, I haven't asked them specifically. I'm sure Cologic would do that.
Sure, great. Thank you, Greg.
You bet.
Do you still want to table
Yes,
to try to work on
table it, please,
Is-
and we'll put those together, and that way, because I think it's great, and Jared's on the ball all the time, he gets it nailed out, and Mike is too, but I just don't like having the two where they could be unified, and when you say Cologic, you know you'd find everything that we do under one.
Okay. Does anyone have any objection to tabling 13 and pulling it off the consent agenda? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Beecham.
Item 7, the AMR bill, help me understand that one as well. So that's a jail client going out for transport. Services were, looks like November of last year.
Yes, I know they talked to the judge before about billing, and they sent us probably close to 20 bills just here recently, and that was the only one that was for 2023. The rest of them are for 24.
So we received it in April, it's sort of past due of December, do we not get a bill for it, or
No.
are we in appended status?
No,
on
and
that
because
file?
I've been aware of this situation, I've been looking for AMR because the judge discussed it with me. So we had not received it prior to this, no.
They have been sending batches of invoices for transport of inmates to the emergency room, and typically it is in batches of months at a time. This, like, in our bills that we'll be discussing, or maybe we even looked at last week, I can't remember at this point. This was one of a number of them that had come in one single batch. This was just the only one that was 2023.
Now, this is just odd, this is already, red past due December 22nd, and we got the receipt stamp right next to that of April the 2nd of this year.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if that was.
So we haven't received anything.
No, we've not received
batch
anything
bill.
prior to that. But you have to remember, sometimes I'm wondering, I don't know, sometimes I wonder if they send those bills to the inmate's address and then realize, oh, that was the jail. I mean, I don't know. I'm just taking a stab at it. I have no idea. We had not got that prior.
It's in big bold letters at the top, Robert Tripp from Wichita County Jail, so I don't know. I just wondered, it just looks odd.
They had to work out some billing issues on their end back last summer. I had a meeting with them,
Okay.
and I think they've still been just some growing pains of fixing things as we move forward.
Right.
I think this is gonna continue to happen because
Okay.
we have no control. I mean, not just medically. I have no control over when the vendors send their payments out. So I mean, it's just we've closed our books earlier, but regardless of closing them earlier, and we do that because we need to get the ACFR out and we need to have our books closed and get everything fixed, we've still never had this many so late coming in. And I can't answer you as to why. It's attorney fees, it's regular bills, it's medical bills, there's no rhyme or reason. Motorola keeps coming in. I don't know why they hold their bills for a year. I don't know.
No, I just wonder, are we
No, but I can tell you that.
receiving our
No,
invoices from AMR?
I got you, but I can tell you that if we receive them, we don't just set them to the
No,
side and
I
and
didn't-
even if we
wasn't
don't know where they
suggesting
go.
that.
Yeah, no, I know you're not. I'm just saying we research them even if we can't figure out what's going on to try to get them paid. So I don't know why it is this way.
Okay.
Item 14, Judge, the agenda item, I didn't quite recognize as to why Adam Aruda is he getting, winning $100?
No,
Commissioner
that's,
Beecham
that's
can
my
speak to
item. There's a national, or NACO has different awards. I had Adam apply for an award of excellence for our Veteran Services Office, which I think we all agree that they're doing outstanding work. When he filled out the application, there was $100 fee associated with filing that application.
Gotcha.
So he went ahead and paid that fee, so I'm just putting it on.
Just reimburse him.
reimbursal.
Yeah, great, good deal. I figured it's something like that, but I just couldn't
Yeah.
understand it reading that.
No,
And
it's strictly to reimburse him to pay that entry fee for that
okay.
award.
These. Okay, and then item 18, just for clarification, the agreement states with Klossner that we will not exceed, with the help of Mel and had the forethought to put into the agreement, they gladly accepted that it will not exceed $50,000, allowing the judge to sign that. So if we are bringing that piece of equipment in this week. It's under, right now, they're plotting to move it here after we inspect it on their yard. Once it gets here, Precinct 4 is ready to go, and we're going to move as quick as we can and try to minimize our work as fast as we can. If you need a piece of that, or a week of that, or a few days of that, it will bill accordingly. So we're going to move it to Precinct 4. Jack anticipates a week's worth of time, utilizing some of your men as well. And then we'll move with it to wherever our guys will go and help Mickey grind what he needs to grind. He's suspecting less than a week. But it's headed back in a 2-week time frame. If we can move that quick and the good Lord willing and it doesn't rain us out, we will return that thing just as promptly as we can. And we are inspecting it there to make sure that it carries all its teeth correctly, that the tires are what they say they will be. We'll inspect those, and so we won't be delayed when that thing arrives as we were 2 years ago.
Okay.
So let me know if you're going to need the machine, and we'll schedule accordingly.
I will not need the machine.
Okay. That's it, Judge, for me.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
No, motion approved.
Second.
With whatever noted changes. I don't even remember them all.
Very good.
Got it? All right, so the motion by Commissioner Fincannon, seconded by Commissioner Watts to approve the consent agenda as amended, and the only amendment was taking 13 off of it.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Nancy, that's correct? All right, we've got the motion. Does anyone have any comments, questions on the motion or any of the items on the consent agenda? Okay, the motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we're moving on to general business. I'm going to move the order around a little bit to accommodate some folks who have scheduling issues with other things. So let's take up item number 7 first, which is discuss, consider, and/or take action on vehicle acquisitions and sales and enterprise fleet management's proposal for Tahoes for the sheriff's office with funds paid from general fund contingencies or budget lines determined by the county auditor. Nick, come on up. Let me set this up, if I may, real quick.
Hello again.
We just wanted to see Nick and let him see us one more
I
time.
love come here. It's a beautiful drive in the morning.
Before he goes, let me just clarify why this is on the agenda one more time. Last week, we approved the proposal to purchase 9 Tahoes for $764,000 contingent on a legal review of the out clause. I reviewed that. I found the language that I think would have spoken to that legal review, or what, especially Commissioner Watts, what your concerns were on that. But in so doing, I was worried that I just wanted to make sure we all understood completely what the parameters of the agreement were and what we were going to be what we were going to be doing. And so therefore, I wanted to bring this up again and allow us to discuss it with Nick here to help answer questions if there were any. Originally, he was going to join us via Zoom, but he was able to move some stuff around to be here in person. And so that's why this is up again. I just real quick, I will speak to your question. It is from last week. In section 3C of the addendum to the master agreement, Enterprise would have to pay us within 30 days for whatever they owed us at the termination of the rental agreement, which was what your concern was.
Yes, and so the timely, the pay us, especially if there were cars in that had been sold in suspense, I understand that. And the titles that are in Nick's name that we need back because Patrick's going on and we've got to reorder.
This is why I wanted us to have this discussion, because I thought that there was some confusion. The agreement, no matter if we pay for it up front or not, is treated like a lease, which means Enterprise owns the vehicles.
Sure, absolutely, I understand
So
that.
we get to the end, we terminate. If above that residual value comes in and that's what we should get, they sell the vehicle and they pay us a check. At no point in the agreement will we own the vehicles. Am I saying that wrong, Nick? Or is that correct?
We do own the vehicles, Judge. If the lease expires and the 5 years has passed and Precinct 4 says, oh, we're gonna keep that vehicle transfers from Enterprise's name back to Wichita County Precinct 4's name. At the end of 5 years, it's no longer under a
No,
lease.
sir, it does not.
It does not.
Yeah, we don't routinely transfer titles back.
Well-
You just keep operating the vehicle till kingdom come, for all intents and purposes.
Well, okay, so, but the terms of a lease have been satisfied. So it's not a correct statement to say the reason that they're in their name is it's participating as a lease, because the lease rules have been qualified, okay? They're in Enterprise's name because it's an asset to Enterprise at that point in time. All I'm wanting to make sure is that if we say, Nick, it ain't working out, sorry, buddy, and Nick settles up all the money in suspense, and 1 year from January of 2025, okay, we say, Nick, it didn't work out, or just let's make it January 2026. It didn't work out, thank you. Nick pays us by February. Anything in suspense, Nick's paid us. We get to December of 2026, and Nick's not handed back over the signed titles to us.
Because
They don't.
under the agreement with Enterprise, that's not how that works. They're not our vehicles.
No, Judge. We've canceled the agreement with Nick in 2026.
Can I just explain
Go
to you
ahead.
how
Sure.
it works? If you cancel like our service agreement, let's say the service.
We cancel all
agreement.
every bit of the agreement.
You cancel everything else, and we're no longer acquiring vehicles for you. If this was to happen, we were no longer providing any
We're
service.
separating ways
Yeah.
completely, Nick.
Completely.
So that I'm
However,
clear.
we still don't routinely turn over the titles at that point in time. We just let them, they just keep running until you decide you want to get rid of them at that whatever point in time. It could be 30 years from now. And
So the way that this would work in that
Typically.
in that environment, the parameters you just laid out, they would sell the vehicle that we had paid up front for, and whatever above that residual value that was going to be at the end of the term, all that equity that we have in that car, they would pay us that equity within 30 days. But we do not retain the vehicle. It's not our vehicle. It's Enterprise's vehicle.
yeah, but you can. I mean, you don't have to turn it over. Obviously, like you said, hey, we no longer want to do business with Enterprise. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have to turn the vehicle back to us.
Right.
We don't come here with a bunch of guys and take them from you. You just keep running the vehicle until
Okay, but let's say,
How do we say it?
again, December of 2026.
dates don't matter.
Now listen,
Yeah.
Patrick decides that John Doe is going to give him 30 new Tahoes.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I'm telling you what I'm gonna do, if you'll give me 30 of your Tahoes, I'll give you the new Tahoes, I'll give you X for those, and we'll make the trade. And Patrick says, sounds good, let's do it, we'll reduce, and Enterprise says, well, yeah, we'll do that. And the guy that Patrick's traded with says, I've not got the signed titles yet from Enterprise.
Oh, now I
I've not got the signed titles, I can't make this deal, Patrick, where's the signed titles? Well, 45 days rolls by, and Enterprise does not give the signed titles for Patrick to make a queen sleep, and there's no penalty to Nick for not providing those titles timely. Finally, the guy says, Patrick, we don't need to do it. Just let the county spend the money out of its own pocket, buy the vehicles outright, and when Enterprise decides to get those titles cleaned up, we'll do that later. There's no provision in this contract to prevent that from happening, Nick.
There's
They're
probably,
telling us you
I don't know
can't
about
do it that way.
contractually, but I can tell you this, like if that was to occur, we would handle the transaction with, we would basically, we'd handle the sell transaction with whoever that third party entity is that we're talking about here, make sure that happens. I mean,
That's in writing in the agreement. You're telling me that's in writing in the agreement.
I don't know if there's specifically, there's contractual
Is it
language.
in writing
No,
in the agreement?
I don't think so, no.
Well, so, again, I go back to, I don't like what's said. I like what is written. And as long as we understand that, and we're on the same page all day long, but then when that occurs and everybody says, well, didn't we talk about that? I don't know, I thought no. I can say, Mel, is that in the agreement? And Mel will say, yes, Jeff, it is.
So you're worried that we're gonna hold vehicles hostage?
No, not
Or titles.
purposely, but we deal with it. Just listen to Margaret's story here.
I hear Marcus.
Apparently it happens all across the board, and we all do business with people that we're gonna be there tomorrow. We're gonna be there the next day. 2 weeks go by and they're still not there. A month, 45 days. I just dealt with an alarm company that wouldn't call me back for 3 months after I got something installed, and I called and I called and I called, and they wouldn't call me back. They're working on it, they're gonna do it, but it doesn't happen.
Well,
I don't wanna end up in that situation,
Under the
Nick.
current contract, if I'm getting this right, there is no advantage to paying for those cars up front. You need to lease them, make the annual payments.
No, the only advantage is we're saving by doing it this way, Barry, no interest we're paying. If we do it under lease, we're cranking up
Okay.
the
Yeah,
interest
that's
rate.
the only advantage is you're saving on interest costs,
That's
but
it.
however,
That's it,
I mean, this could all be,
I will state to you, there are some extreme disadvantages to self-funding that I think might be missed a little bit.
They don't override paying interest on $1 million at 9% to Enterprise if we can avoid paying interest of 9%.
I think-
That this county is better off by avoiding that cost.
Well, you
Yeah,
can, but you don't have the flexibility that you're talking about to make that next trade. In other words, what I'm hearing you say is the contract's written one way, it's written as a lease, and that's fine, you can pay them up front, but I don't have the option to go sell them to somebody else in a year. I give that option up, isn't that true?
No, we can still handle that transaction regardless of that, but the,
Well,
what I
that's
would
what the
say,
contract says, so, yeah.
I'd say your advantage to using a leasing mechanism is, right now, like, I think what's before for the sheriff's department alone, we have $800,000 or so approved in purchases, right? If you keep that trend in perpetuity right there, the sheriff's department will never catch up with acquisitions. You're gonna have to drastically ramp up your purchasing trends to get them caught up.
And we have the ability to budget for that and to tax for that, Nick.
Yeah.
So yes, we can catch up. We don't have to do it on an interest rate based on Enterprise giving us the ability. We have the ability on this court to budget, to tax, and to pay it for it right up front and catch ourselves up so Patrick is online when he needs to be.
That'd be awesome.
And paying lease interest at the elevated rate versus when we can do it locally for nearly, not half, but 3 percentage points cheaper, I'm not a fan of that. And we can't lease any other way but through Enterprise. If we're gonna borrow money, we have to borrow it from Enterprise. We could borrow it from somebody else, and I'm all for it if we could get down there around what prime is close to being, but we can't
produce
do
the
it.
titles.
No.
Yeah, so you can't, that's what,
Yeah.
you could do it, you just can't produce the collateral. Yeah.
So it will never register with me that it makes perfect sense to pay an elevated interest rate on top of the $1 million, because this court is paying the $1 million anyway.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I would say like when we look at the math behind what y'all have historically done, self-funding and everything, compared to using a funding mechanism to be able to not only get caught up very rapidly, I'm talking within this 2024, it does look to be financially
This
beneficial.
court was held to a very ultra-conservative, didn't want to spend a penny thought process that no longer is in this court today.
Good deal.
And that we can see, we did not cut ourselves into prosperity. And that was the thought,
Yeah.
that we were going to cut ourselves into prosperity. And that is not the mindset of this board any longer. We will catch up, we will be on track, and moving forward, we'll get there. And so I just tell you that to say you can't historically say anything because this court is not what it was in the past.
lem-
I'm trying to.
there is an opportunity cost to paying for everything up front. Let's not pretend that there's not. We're not paying the interest, but that is money that now has been spent, is going towards has been spent up front to pay for the vehicles, that is no longer available for another reason.
But Judge, you budgeted, you told the public, here's what I budgeted for, we're gonna buy cars. Now to do this with the money, that's not what we told the public. That we wanna put back $1 million, that's a penny on the tax rate. And we're gonna use it to buy cars. But now we can spend just the interest of $1 million, move that money and do something else with it. It's the mindset that got us behind to begin with. And we have promised to do the money the way we've done it, and we owe the public to stay true to that because they reviewed what we did. We showed them the budget, and they willingly paid us the penny that we set aside $1 million to buy cars with specifically. We didn't set aside of that money just 10% of it to pay interest so we could move the $1 million and do something else with it.
Well, let's narrow it down to what we're really talking
Yeah.
about. You can go with this program, and you will not. You're going to have to find if you pay for them, then you've saved the interest. But you don't have the flexibility of having the titles to do anything else with. You can get rid of the cars, or you guys can get rid of the cars for us. It just you're giving up flexibility for not having to pay the 9% interest.
And all of it, Judge, I'm perfectly fine with just the way it is. I just want Nick's feet held to the fire when Patrick's trying to make the trade. We don't do it, or we use Enterprise to make the trade. Now, bear in mind, they're out of the equation, so if they want to volunteer their time to help us, that's all fine. But I just want Nick to be held accountable to it, because he says that. It's not in the agreement, he says that. 3 years come by, Patrick tries to do that to utilize him, and Nick won't return his phone call. Seems like I've heard that in the court.
Is there any way to add, I mean, it could be as simple as that one line. If y'all lose all contract with Wichita County, can y'all make sure that the titles are signed within 30
Yeah, I
days?
just have to see how that would have to be added into the agreement somehow. I'd obviously get legal involved, have them word on it somehow, with obviously Melvin's guidance also.
As long as that's injected in there, I'm ready to move forward with this deal.
I think the one thing I would like to put out there, I know we've been talking about the interest cost and the impact of that, y'all self-funding and saving that money. But I think one of the things that is the thing that we're not really talking about is the lost opportunity from a resale standpoint of existing assets that we have today, which would be a significant offset of any cost of funds that y'all would have. So what's happening here, and the whole premise behind what we do, we're a fleet management company at the end of the day, and our job is to come in and provide advice and guidance, right? yes, you're going to incur some interest costs you wouldn't otherwise. There are 34 vehicles in the sheriff's department that need to go. And by replacing 34 this year, they're actually also going to be able to downsize their fleet by 33 vehicles.
Yeah.
And so just kind of, and so therefore we're actually selling off 67 vehicles from the sheriff's department. And those funds and the proceeds of sale from that are going to way more than offset any interest costs that y'all would occur. And then let's say a year down the line, now you'll have access to funding to self-fund all that. Y'all can go and pay those, quote unquote, pay those things down at any point in time.
Nick, I'm perfectly fine. You don't have to continue re-explaining. As long as we stay in bed with Enterprise, I'm perfectly fine with the way it works.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when we say, Nick, didn't work out, thank you, goodbye, and we're 2 years down the road. I don't want to rely on Nick said in this court, and we played back the tape, and heck, he said that. Well, Mel says, well, I'm sorry, Jeff, it's not in writing. We can't do nothing about it. And they're dragging their feet. Now, you say that you'll make the trade for Patrick. All power to you. You can volunteer your time to this county all you want to. I just want to make sure you're honorable about that and we hold you to your word 3 years after we no longer do Enterprise and you're still holding our car titles.
I think the one thing that maybe is, maybe
who wouldn't want to inject that line into the agreement, Nick? There's no argument not to.
No, maybe we'll be able to contractually get there. I don't know. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I don't really know. I think our biggest concern from an Enterprise perspective of us just not living up to what we believe is right and good and the right thing to do would be our brand being potentially slandered in public because Enterprise's inaction to do something we should do and we're supposed to do, and that technically is within the agreement. While there's no definite timelines that say, hey, we will sell the vehicle or get the transaction handled within X amount of days, weeks or months.
All good and fine, Nick, but if this was Jeff Watts' deal,
Yeah.
and you're asking me, and Jeff Watts is standing there, and Judge is asking me, would you put that sentence in there to say that what you're saying is true? And I said, in a New York second, Mel, you write it in there. This is done. I know what we're gonna do as Enterprise. We're gonna live up to that. So you stick that in there, and we'll go on about our business. And this is a good deal for Enterprise. It's a good deal for the county. But you're not willing to inject into it.
I don't know that we can or can't. I don't know we can or can't.
Well, maybe, Nick, my whole irritation with this thing is maybe we got the wrong person if we don't doing business with the decision maker of Enterprise.
Well, the decision maker of Enterprise is more a conversation with our legal team to get wording correct if we can.
How many times have we talked about this, Nick?
Well, we've had multiple conversations through us.
Corporately, I'm used to calling the corporate attorney and saying, is that doable? As a sales rep for a corporation, it was my duty to contact corporate attorney and say, will that work? Yes, Jeff, that'll work. Insert it and call the judge back immediately and say, I got that done. That's no problem.
Commissioner, I did not ever ask for that specifically in those terms as part of the legal agreement or the legal negotiations that took place first in the fall of last year, then the winter, and then the spring of this year when we took action to move forward. I don't think your problem is with Enterprise. The problem is I didn't understand that's what we were needing.
Well, let me clarify. Last week, I made this point. If I was Nick, the following day, I'd have the answer from my corporate attorney that I'm doing business with constantly and notifying you, Judge, that's not a problem. We'll take care of that and we'll accept it. The problem is it's been 7 days now. Nick's not even called the corporate attorney or asked anybody, will that work? Now, that's my point in this whole thing. Nick can't, and I did corporately, ask the attorney, will that work? Yes, it will. If they want to redline it, do it. If we need to redline it, let me know. I'll email it to him straight away. That happened within the day. I didn't want to lose this deal as a corporate sales rep, and I took care of that immediately. That's my point, Judge.
Okay.
Yeah, we did until like this. We didn't know specifically what anybody was asking for in this sense. This is
I hate that I was so unclear last week.
It definitely was not clear that that's something that y'all wanted. So what we would ask, and what our legal team's gonna ask is, if y'all want specific language, have Melvin draft it, send it to us, and we might just bless it right away and say, oh,
Good deal.
that's good.
So Judge, I'll make this motion that we move forward with this agreement pending the red line from the attorney that Mel signs off on. And let's just move forward. That's the best way to do it.
Before
Mark has a question.
before we do that, Commissioner Beecham.
Yes. It's your opinion, though, however, that we're missing the opportunity to take full advantage of the program
100%.
by buying these 10 vehicles outright.
Yeah, I agree. I believe so. And in all due respect, I think that, the other entities, I even had Judge even got to speak to one of our other entities that self-funds vehicles. I introduced him to one of the city manager for the city of Keller that does a similar self-funding method. The difference was how they got started compared to you slow roll in versus like going in right away. They had the funds were readily available at that point in time through what I call vehicle equipment replacement fund that allowed them to go.
And doing what we're doing, what we're attempting to do this year, we're really doing the same thing we've always done.
Yes.
And we don't really need you for that.
If you need to go out and buy, if you're trying to buy 8 vehicles or 9 vehicles, please go ahead and do that. If you're looking for, fleet management advice, guidance, a long-term partnership, we're your guys.
Says the guy making the money off the interest rate.
No, I'm not arguing that
Now
point.
listen to me.
Commissioner Beecham still has the floor.
No, that was the whole premise of you coming to us,
Yeah,
was
for the last-
to be a fleet manager, to get us over this hump of buying 10, 12 vehicles at a time.
Right.
Now we're going back, and I understand we want to step into it slowly, but we're going back and doing the same pattern. We haven't achieved
I would like
anything.
one thing.
Commissioner Watts has.
Okay,
So-
I'll give you.
So Mark, we're not going back to the same pattern. We're stepping in this year slowly.
Okay.
Next year, if we need to quadruple it, we have the ability to budget for it. I like the opportunity, and if this court wants to budget that 9% interest, I'm all power to us, and we'll buy 150 cars in the front of the year once we budget it this year. I'm all for that, Mark.
And
But
I
I'm just
understand where you're
saying-
coming from. That's how our budget is presented. I do understand that, but.
But Nick's representation, and to him to utilize enterprise, because I could bring you several other Penske boys up here that are gonna say the same exact thing
No, I
Nick
get
is,
that.
and their interest rate is gonna be different than Nick's. And their opportunity to utilize Penske will be the same. So my object is, I'm telling you, there's no unreasonable explanation not to put simple language in that holds everybody true. One sentence that holds everybody true to the cause. Move on, and I hope we do business with Enterprise for the rest of my life. That doesn't bother me one second.
I think you. Oh, sorry.
I have one other,
Yeah, if you can.
and I'm in agreement with both on certain projects, but the whole presentation you made to us on the lease agreement, we're never gonna be able to utilize and get any forward progress done in our fleet management if we continue to buy 8 or 10 vehicles a year.
Now,
Unless we go into it more readily,
now,
you're not gonna save that money, because replacing 8 vehicles or 9 vehicles, you're still gonna run your maintenance cost up on all your other ones.
now,
So our whole deal was replacing that fleet, trying to get it replaced a little bit faster and get our maintenance costs down, our fuel costs down. If we don't wanna use Enterprise, then don't use Enterprise.
Now, Mick, I thought that I was clear on telling Mark, we agreed, this group, that we're gonna start in a simple manner, and then the next year,
So what you're saying is next year, if we're stepping into it and things are going good, we might go with the interest rate theory if we think
we
it's
can
better.
spend the whole $1 million Jim budgeted on paying Enterprise interest, if that's what you wanna do. Finance the whole thing and change out every car in the Wichita County. Is that fast enough?
Well,
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we're holding true to what we told the taxpayer we were gonna do.
Right.
We spent $1 million in interest And I'm okay with that if this group agrees to that, but then we're moving at lightning speed. In 2 years, we replace the entire deal of this county. I think that's phenomenal to get there. I'm not saying that's what we do. I'm just saying, don't be reluctant to say because we're buying $1 million worth of cars this year, we're getting the same old thing. We're not doing the same old thing. We've got a fixer now brought on board. We never had a fixer before to watch all this stuff, advise us, give us a report, show us what we're doing. It's okay to go slow the year one and move into it in the greatest fashion you want to thereafter.
Okay.
I
Yes, sir.
don't disagree, but get one slow in the first year. But I don't know why we don't take more advantage of the program this year while we're.
The only thing I'd say from an opportunity cost standpoint is just, I mean, market conditions, they flux at times. It's a really good time in the market to dispose of vehicles. As manufacturers are ramping up production, which they are, the resale market is going to soften a little bit. It's just that's a pure advice and guidance standpoint. And I think that by not selling a lot of vehicles here in the next 6 months or so, we could have an opportunity cost into next year. And when you talk about, I think we have 70 some odd vehicles. I think I recommend putting on the chopping block. Technically remarketing around 100 of them.
And Mark,
Yeah.
on your point, I'm perfectly fine with this. I'm perfectly fine if this court wants to take that $1 million right now and just turn it into interest payment. But give me the language in the contract so that 3 years from now, we're saying this report is, Margaret says of AT&T the other day, they won't give us a report that Patrick can read. I don't know, I called them. Is that not what you said, Margaret? And
It did
she
take
won't
a
return
long
your
time.
phone
No,
call.
Well, but I got it now, but it did take a very long time, you're correct.
So I'm okay. Just give me the language and then we'll do whatever this court wants to do. We'll do it right now if that's what y'all want to do in an aggressive, fast manner. But give me language that protects us 3 years down the road.
I have a question for Margaret. before we
Yes, sir.
move on. So essentially, they're gonna be capitalizing our vehicles. Do we capitalize those too? How do we report that in the GASB?
I believe they'd have to be capitalized, yes.
Correct.
So we get two different entities capitalizing the same assets.
So we don't capitalize in the same sense that y'all do. I mean, you're capitalized on your books from a financial reporting standpoint, is what
That's
you're
correct.
referring
So
to.
what
correct?
advantage does it of Enterprise to hold the titles if you're not using them as
Well,
capital assets?
the main reason we hold tiles is logistically is the primary.
That's what you told us last
Yeah,
time.
but primarily the reason, because we can't spend the time, resources to chase titles all the time, constantly transferring through. It's not a good business practice. We also have some covenants associated with the trust that is the financial arm of our business that actually funds all this through.
So if we own our vehicles outright, I'm trying to get to a point.
Yeah.
If we own our vehicles outright, we have them capitalized on our balance sheet. You're saying you don't have them capitalized, that you're holding our titles, and what, other than ease of transfer when the vehicles are sold, what benefit is it to Enterprise to hold the
Yeah,
titles?
again, I go back, we have some covenants of our trust also. Also, the way we sell and remarket vehicles, it gives us flexibility of how we dispose.
Because you are holding those titles.
Yeah, the title, the enterprise assets, so we can sell them through a lot of different channels that the county would not have the ability to do.
So
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I'm trying to get to Jeff's point. If we found a better deal than what y'all can make us
If
sell.
for some reason
those
that's the case, then we
vehicles,
would just sell to that entity. If that
Y'all
was,
would sell on our behalf. But
Yeah.
is there language in that contract that spells that out for us that we
not,
can, we
so
can?
not that I know of specifically off the top of my head that there's a
If we
section.
found a better deal,
Secular,
we can call you. I don't see why it would be a difficulty for Enterprise and our attorneys to get together and say, yeah, Wichita County finds a better deal to get out of them. It's in your best interest to get rid of them. It's in our best interest to get rid of them. But
Yeah.
if we can get to that point, then the other argument, if we're not taking advantage of the program fully or not.
Comes a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that would be something we'd be able to do. I don't know if Melvin has an idea how to draw language to that. You have an idea how to work,
I think that's the sticking point, is that,
Well, I'll give you language, Mel, that I'll suggest, and you can vet it. It's very simple. It's just that if we're all doing that, that we hold them accountable to give us back in reasonable fashion those titles when we need them and call on them.
Or make the sale to whoever we want it sold to.
And
I mean, really,
yeah,
that's,
There are some stipulations that we have. They have to be, I mean, they do have to be a licensed dealer. There's a few things in order for us to sell to them to meet some of the.
well, you said that you would take care of the
constraints. I will say-
transaction until we get rid of the
We can't sell
title.
like say it again, sorry.
Patrick makes the deal that I explained in 2026
Yeah.
while ago. The new cars he's purchasing will not be in Enterprise's name. We're not under contract
I
with
understand
him.
that, yeah.
But you're going to handle the transaction. You'll volunteer because the name on the titles is Enterprise that you're trading in.
Yeah, correct.
You'll
Yeah,
handle that negotiation.
correct.
You say you will.
Correct.
And we just want language to hold you to what you just said.
Yeah, that's fine.
There shouldn't be
just-
shouldn't be
I-
nothing wrong about that.
Again, just, all you gotta do is just propose language to
We
us.
got the deal made, we don't want them to negotiate the deal.
All you gotta do is
well,
propose the
maybe they come
language.
back with a better deal.
Yeah.
Hey, we got this, what can you?
All we want them to do is just transfer the title.
That's right. We just want that to be done timely, and as long as we're protected, I'll suggest something to Mel, and Mel can vet that. He can submit it to your attorneys. If you'd have your attorney call Mel, I'm very used to it.
We've already had multiple conversations. This, to this degree, has not come up yet in any of those conversations as of yet. Nor, because typically how we have master agreements, right? We have some standard changes we make for the state of Texas, and we submit those to Mel. He's made quite a few other changes in the agreement. You submit changes to us. We then go and send those up, make sure they meet the criteria of the covenant of our trust, make sure, and then once we come to finalize agreement, then they're executed. So right now, all the agreements have been executed that need to be executed, but if we want to add another addendum to it, Mel would just need to submit language to us, and then we can get that vetted through.
But let's say I'm in all world airports and I'm doing business as ABC car rental.
Okay.
I can use Enterprise to manage my cars. And across the US, Enterprise could be bringing me those cars. ABC Rental is who's doing it at every airport with my people. But you're doing those cars. I'm under the impression that one agreement only, commercially for ABC Rental in every airport in the US, and government entity, same agreement. Nick, that doesn't work in the government world. It's just, unfortunately, what they can agree to here, we can't agree to
No, you
here.
understand. We have different agreements for government versus commercial. So y'all have gone through our governmental, blanket governmental agreements, because they're different. So we have to have some language
So
in
there
there
should
for
be
Texas.
all compatibility built with Texas law is what you're saying to me. Compliance with Texas law. Your attorneys understand that very well. Mel understands that very well. If those two can talk about what cleans us up and protects us 3 years separated from you, that's all we need to do. And
Yeah.
Mel's capable of doing that. The county can't be sued in Texas a greater than X amount of dollars. So we can't tell Enterprise that we'll protect you for $3 million because we can't do it by law. So as long as your attorneys understand that, if they understand Texas law and no county government, Mel understands that as an attorney for county government, there should not be any problem that they say, oh, I see exactly what you're doing. Yeah, no problem. We'll fix that, red line it. Maybe it'll never come up. Hope it never comes up. But
Yeah.
when it does come up, we're good to go.
Yeah, I would say, one thing I would say that every entity interprets things different. We have some of the master agreements that were already been vetted through other ways, but every single entity we do business with tends to want their own set of changes despite that. So, which is okay, and that's why we make amendments. So like your agreements
Good.
are a little
Sounds
bit,
like that's easy.
your agreements are a little bit different than Erath County is, for argument's sake, right? They're all a little bit different in some way, just because you got 5 different legal minds interpreting 5 different ways. So, which is okay, how that works.
It's probably the hardest sell you've ever made.
I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I think you guys are worth it. If I didn't think you were worth it, I wouldn't have made so many trips up here. I promise.
Just so that I'm clear on the motion that Commissioner Watts made, you're wanting language on if there is a termination of the relationship with Enterprise, it establishes time deadlines for what? Because this is
I think there is some time.
Well, this is why I
frames.
asked the
Yeah.
question.
Point of order. We're still operating under the same court order from last week, which is still to review the out clauses, is still under that. So we have to just give them direction. I don't think we have to have another motion.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to get
Okay.
clarification
That's
on
fine.
the direction. Timeliness for Enterprise to do what?
So Patrick, so say we're separated, we're a year out, we hadn't made any trades, it hadn't mattered. Patrick initiates a buy for the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Maybe we're with Penske, maybe we're by ourselves, either way. Patrick says, he works up a deal, he needs 80 Tahoes. He needs to release 80 of ours because the guy's taking them in on trade at a very good rate. And applying that, so the cash value of the trade is actually pushed down. Because we're applying old cars, but they're not in our name. We're buying old cars, so we're just paying the difference, okay? But the guy that Patrick's trading with says, Patrick, I haven't got those titles yet from the cars that I'm taking in on trade. I've got them sold, and I'm taking them. I didn't buy them to keep them. I bought them to trade them, and I've got them here, but Enterprise has not called and got me the titles to them.
I would say sell or release of titles sell or release of titles on demand. That would be it.
So I don't think there is something.
Well, there's language in the agreement to sell customer vehicles, but those are explicitly not leased vehicles. Those are vehicles that we own. And this is why I'm
I
asking.
think it's under default remedy for some reason, but I'll find. But y'all send me some language and I'll send it up.
For us to send language, unless Melvin, you're understanding better than I am.
I think there is, but I'm sorry, I'm going through. I know the agreement's pretty well, but not
We
verbatim.
Now, Nick said they just handled the trade. We've been separated from them a year, Jim.
Right.
Nick and Patrick, so Patrick says, Nick, hey, will you handle this trade for me? You said you would in court, and we'll just take care of it. And then Patrick reports back, said, hey, Patrick, how's that coming? Now, the other day, Patrick said, I've called the guy and he's not called me back. Now, Patrick said that in this courtroom. I don't want Patrick saying that 3 years from now, we're separated from them, and we've not got a response. So we can't do this deal. They volunteered to do it for us. Let them handle it all. We'll make the best sale and the best buy. Nick agreed to that, said they'd handle it all. We're separated from them. Let's just hold them accountable to return the call and get that done. You follow me? I'm not
No,
that clear.
I think the issue is that would be such a weird situation because from our standpoint, no, hear me out. They have 30 days to give us our equity.
No, they have 30 days to give you, they're not gonna give you all the titles back and put them back in Wichita County's name and if they did that, I'd be fine with everything too. They're just giving you the cash in suspense of anything that's been sold.
Yeah, I mean,
30 days doesn't mean everything, Judge, just the cash and expense. They're not going to pay to send us back signed titles, why you wouldn't put your signature on them? It costs Enterprise $0 to sign every title, send it back to Wichita County, we put them back in our name, or we trade them as they are. They're already signed off with Enterprise, cost them zero money to do.
I think that's where I was, why are they signing over the titles to us in the first place?
Why would they or not?
But why would they in this scenario you laid out? Because they're
We're
handling
no
the
longer
sell.
doing business with them.
Okay.
And you said in 30 days they hand back all the assets. They're not handing back all the assets. They're handing back the cash in suspense that they just
Sell
sold.
something, I think.
To hand back all the assets is to sign every title. We've only got 100. It don't take 10 minutes. Sign every title, send it back to Wichita County, and Patrick can do his deal all day long. And every asset within 30 days would be satisfied. I'll do that deal all day long. But you told me they're only handling the cash. They're gonna keep the car in their name until it's traded off. So that obligates Nick to be 2 years removed from us, holding cars in our name, and having to work with Patrick to make a deal done when we're no longer with Enterprise.
Correct.
The dealer that he finds the deal with, though, they're the ones who are in jeopardy here, not us. Because we don't have the asset. It's not our asset. That's in the agreement. It's a leased vehicle. We get our
It is
equity.
our asset, Judge.
That's what that's not how this.
Leased asset is not just a used asset. We're making a bank loan on the deal. We're calling it a lease, and at the end of 5 years, it's outright. We paid every cent for that. It doesn't go on away with Enterprise. When they leave us, they don't take the car with them.
Yes, they do.
No.
That is how the language of this is written.
No, Judge, it's not the way it's written.
They take it with them and pay us.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's all, in the language, it's all about what's called termination. So termination can mean a lot of things. Termination, because you got two different things going on. You have the service agreement, which is with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc., which handles all the services that we do, right? Then you have Enterprise FM Trust. They're two separate entities. And so the titling and everything is with the trust, right? The services are with the Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. They're two separate entities. So you have termination language related to the services, and you have termination language related to, when we say termination, it means at the point in time that y'all decide you no longer want to use the asset, whatever it means. And there's options there. I mean, you keep on you could just keep operating the entity into perpetuity, right? And then it can run and eventually go to your boneyard, and it'll still be Tile Enterprise name in that instance. Second side of it is y'all decide you want to dispose of the asset. Now, our typical process, so even if we are 30 years removed from working together, right? And y'all want to dispose of an asset, you notify us. This is how it works. We pick up the asset, we get it sold, and within 30 days we're relinquishing the proceeds. That we're going to take it and market to a competitive market to get the vehicle competitively sold out there, and that's how it typically works.
Perfectly fine,
Yeah.
if that's what you're relaying, Judge, that when we call CAFRO, any money in suspense from a trade or a sale of a car that they've outright sold to us, that's supplied back, they pay us cash value for every asset we have, and we walk away. And they have 30 days to do that, and if they don't do it in 30 days, what happens?
The same way that if we don't pay them, they come after us. You sue them.
And you're okay with that, Mel?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
I believe we could pursue them because we can, I mean, assuming we keep up with what we owned and what we bought, I mean, which we will.
Okay, good enough. So we'll walk away. There's no trade a year after that involves Nick at all. We don't have to involve Nick. We're clear and clean. We've been paid cash for every asset we own. Patrick can go do his deal with whoever he wants to and never have to call Nick ever again. Because in 30 days of the split, we're settled in full.
Correct.
Okay.
But just to be clear, it's not an asset we own. We've been paid for our equity that we've built up in the asset that Enterprise owns.
Sure,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we're free and clear. Why would we involve Nick at any point? Patrick can do what he wants to do. We've got the
We
cash
got
in
the
hand.
cash, that's correct.
Good deal. Perfect.
Okay.
I still make the motion. We move forward.
Okay, I'll second.
If Mel's fine.
Point of order, we don't need to.
Oh, we don't,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
essentially you're good with the proposal we made last week
We've already done it.
to
Yeah.
pay up front the $796 or whatever that number was to purchase outright up at the top.
Can I ask a question? What about the discussion regarding the ramping up?
That's for a different, that's for us
Not on
to
this
go ahead and
agenda.
decide.
Yeah.
Nick,
We
don't
couldn't
need to
discuss it
decide
today
that right
anyway.
this second. We know how we're gonna do, and I'm fine with ramping
Yeah.
up. If these guys wanna ramp up, that's fine and dandy, but we need to do that separate and
Next
apart
agenda.
and move on with our business.
See y'all next week.
This is also why there's some leeway built into what we budgeted versus we're not spending it all up front. Gives us flexibility later to
Okay.
make other choices.
Thank you all.
We got
Appreciate
there.
the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your patience with me and my explanations as well. So thank you so much. If there's anything, please let me know.
Good deal.
Nick, thank you for taking the time to travel up here. Do we have any other questions or comments before we move on from this item with no action necessary? Going once, going twice? Okay. With no action, we'll move off of item number 7. Item number 1 on general business.
Can I ask you to move to item number 3, to get
Ab-
the people that are in the audience out of here?
Absolutely.
Go on to their daily work.
Item number 3.
I'll make a motion on number 1 if you want to go ahead and clear it up.
No,
Yeah.
let's move it around. Let's make
All right.
Nancy loves it when we do this to
All
her for the minutes. Item number 3 on general business is open and take action as necessary on transport services bids. Part 2.
Alrighty. First one, Judge, is from Wichita Falls Embalming.
Thank you. All right, this is from Wichita Falls Embalming Service. And just as a reminder, we made one change to this, which was it's a proposed fixed cost, everything included, so we're not having conversations about body bags and all of that. This is everything, all included, a fixed cost. So Wichita Falls Embalming Service, the proposed fixed cost within Wichita County, $90 per pickup of body. Proposed fixed cost to Dallas for autopsy, $200 per trip. All right, got another one?
Next one.
Yep.
Text line.
Okay. All right, this one is from Text Line. The proposed fixed cost within Wichita County is $100 per pickup of body. Proposed fixed cost to Dallas for the autopsy is $280 per trip.
Motion to take under advisement for a week.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Beecham to take under advisement for a week.
Second.
All right, do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item itself?
Quick question.
Yeah.
2 bids, considerably different. What's the reason taking over advisement?
I need to, well, I'd like to read the bids, just to see what they all,
Then I'll understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, no other question.
That's it, there's nothing included in there, it's a removal fee and a transport to, everything else is included in
with
it.
all due respect, I have not seen them, I have not
Yeah.
had a chance to
Okay.
look them
Okay.
over, so.
I'm good with that.
We have any other questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right. Motion is before us to take under advisement for a week. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Item number 1, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve and ratify the minutes of the April 2nd, 2024 regular session and the April 5th, 2024 special session.
Motion approved.
Second.
You beat you to it. We got a motion by Commissioner Mahler, seconded by Commissioner Watts to approve and ratify the minutes of both sessions. Any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right. All those in favor, motion's before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Item number 2, review and approve the regular bills for payment. Verify payroll taxes have been filed and order county treasurer to disperse payroll and/or bills within 72 hours via U.S. mail, FedEx, UPS, or electronically unless directed otherwise, or may be picked up and ledgered in the treasurer's office. Commissioner Fincannon, I think you're abstaining on this one, is that correct?
I don't remember there being one in there, but I guess I am. If it's in there, I am.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And I'm assuming with this, all of those, how did the election workers shift out? Where are they at? Here?
They went last Friday.
They went out last Friday?
They went out last Friday. Okay.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Mahler, to approve, verify, and order. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item itself? All right, the motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. There being 4 ayes and 1 abstention, the motion passes. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and/or take action to award quotes for 2 UTVs for the maintenance department. Let's see. Ricky, do you want to, well, no, there were the quotes right there. Commissioner Beecham, do you want to speak to this one, or is it just that everyone has seen it and we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get the board
Pull it up,
documents
too.
open.
Can you keep those over next to you? Oh, sorry, thank you.
So we do have 3 quotes on the Polaris and only 2 quotes on the Kawasaki vehicle. These were vehicles that were specified by Ricky and his staff for what they need. We have a quote from Eddie Hill for $34,227.89 for the Polaris. Cycle Center of Denton for $37,812.51, and Lawton Motorsports for $34,485.53. Eddie Hill being the low bidder and also local maintenance, I would make the motion to approve Eddie Hill for the Polaris. And
Do you have a picture of those, Mark, Brendan can throw up on the screen?
Ricky, do you?
You're talking about the actual, the ATVs?
Yeah, is it in the backup, the picture?
No, the pictures are
The
not.
pictures are not.
Pictures are not.
Can I ask a question while we're looking for that?
Please.
And I'm sorry, but evidently this was a budgeted item from last year
There's-
that I don't remember seeing this at all. But can you explain to me what are we doing with why are we wanting to buy 2 UTVs?
Okay, so we're getting one, this can be primarily used on maintenance. That's for going to the buildings downtown,
Which buildings?
the annex, Linderman, all of our downtown buildings.
So the courthouse, the annex, and
Courthouse,
then
annex, Linderman,
juvenile.
we go to Juvie, we could also go to JJP as well,
Okay.
cause it's pretty close range.
What's
But the premise of this is that when you take a full-size truck and you go try to find a parking spot and you got stuff that you need to load and unload, if you're gonna be working over in those buildings, you can't really a lot of times you're parking across the street or whatever you're doing, so you're bringing all your stuff across the street in buckets or whatever it is. So it gives us the ability to move easier between the buildings. And also, we gotta run over to a building, instead of jumping into a truck, pulling out of the parking spot, going and trying to find a spot to park, or walk, those are your two options. But sure, walking's supposed to be really good for you, but
Not practical carrying tools.
but, you know, so it's just us.
How many vehicles does, okay, I understand what you're saying. That's just not a very wide span to me. How many vehicles does maintenance currently operate or have access to?
We have 2 trucks
That's all maintenance has altogether?
And housekeeping.
and housekeeping has
But that's, the trip go back and forth to LEC.
Okay. I had a little issue with it. I don't understand really why we're buying 2 UTVs. Where are those gonna be kept?
in the rec yard, well.
In the
rec
maintenance yard? So you're gonna have to go down there and put your tools from your truck into there. You're gonna have to open the door, take it out of there to go to wherever you're going. So as far as it being a truck, getting in your truck and leaving seems like it's no more difficult. I don't quite understand why we're buying 2. Can't understand why the purpose of the county is to buy 2 UTVs to drive a block away or 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, when your truck and your toolboxes and everything seems like it would be already there, already paid for, already. I just didn't understand quite the logic behind it. That's why I'm trying to. And if we're gonna do one, well, let's do one and see if it actually works out. Why would we buy 2 right off?
Well,
There's different things.
The
out
other
there.
one, and they're different versions, so one of them's more expensive than the other. And the Kawasaki Mule, that was intended for grounds. So he can haul things around and maintain the yards here, across the street, all around all the county buildings around here. So that's another part of it, you know, picking up trash and things like that, but trash bags in the back. That's what the purpose of the smaller one was. The other one has an enclosed cab, it's a heated cab, it has a snow plow attachment for times when we need it, which aren't very often, I get it, but when you need it, it sure is nice. So there's more functions than just what maybe the perception is that you have. There's more to it than what it can be utilized for. Or would be utilized for,
It's
actually.
much cheaper than buying a truck too.
Yeah.
It's We're in dire need of it.
So we're not gonna buy trucks, so we're buying these?
Well, not today.
Not today.
Not today.
I don't know, it just seems like a,
Well, the way it stands is if I got a guy in a truck and he's across the street of Judy, and I got another guy at the annex, and they're painting the building, and I have to go somewhere, I'm gonna use my personal vehicle and not get reimbursed. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
It should turn
And
into reimbursable.
that's a big part of it. I mean, because, you know, you can spread that out pretty thin in a hurry. You know, when you're doing the type of work we do, we get spread
I
out.
do agree with that 100%.
And so, I mean, if we can reduce some of that cost, I mean, I think too, surely it's gotta be cheaper doing smaller things and running around in a smaller vehicle than it would be you can't drive a full-size truck out across the lawns emptying trash cans.
And I apologize, there's a picture of the mule, the Kawasaki Mule in here, which would be the grounds one I think you're talking about, right, Ricky? The other one, there's not a picture of, and so I'm having a little harder time picturing what that bigger one, more expensive one.
What was it, Polaris?
Looks like. I hate to put you on, can you describe it? I mean.
Yeah, I believe it's a 4-door. So
Okay.
you can put 4 people in the cab.
Do you know what size? Is it a 1000 Polaris or
I believe it's 1100.
a Polaris 1100 ATV?
I was just told to send the specs and everything else was gonna happen.
Is it a Ranger or do you know?
Oh, here we go.
Yes. Okay.
That's a Ranger.
Just with an enclosed.
It'll have it enclosed. I'm assuming solid glass doors and all?
Yeah.
That isn't, I mean, that's nice.
Oh,
That's the number. I was trying to get to there.
those things cost more than my car,
Yep,
and not even the go-kart.
yep.
I had no idea they were so expensive. The other issue we have, and just so that while Commissioner Payne's pulling that up, there was $40,000 total budgeted in the 2024 budget for these, and both of them do put us over that amount. Ricky, which one do you think is more dire would be? It sounds like the mule would be used more and would be more practical, except in times of inclement weather. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be used for grounds. So, you know, there is that need.
Would it also be able to be used back and forth between buildings, or it's not big enough, and that's the.
I mean, it could. You know, but it's just trying to, you know, when you're trying to use a vehicle for multiple purposes, it's not that very big in the beginning. You know, then you spend a lot of time moving things in and out. I guess that's what I'm saying.
That's $3,000-4,000. Wow.
That top one was probably the closest one, but, I mean, they're nice, without a doubt.
I think where things stand, Commissioner Beecham was in the middle of making a motion, but I don't think actually.
Yeah, I just was,
Back to it.
I was just, asking questions for the motion.
Yeah.
In a second.
I hit one too many back buttons and didn't completely got it.
Oh, we're gonna have a picture. Thank you, Brendan.
That's one and that's the other. Those are the Rangers.
That's
hard
the
cat.
more expensive one right there.
That's the one with the 4 hard doors. This is with the soft doors. I think the one you're talking about has the 4 hard doors.
Yeah, that's 37,000.
34.
Oh, is it 34?
34. Oh, I thought that was you.
No, the mule was 12.
Oh, okay. All right, I wrote it down.
Just the payroll and I don't have access.
And the total budgeting number was?
40.
Well, I'm just asking this question. Why wouldn't we sell a pickup, the oldest one, buy a pickup, and, pay the difference, probably 34,000. Put Rick in it, he drives it till the cows come home. Home, here, everywhere he goes, he's got to live in it because he may have to leave wherever he's at the restaurant Saturday, eating with his wife and come to the courthouse. Why would we not do that? And spend less than $34,000 difference in trade.
That's still.
And all his tools are in it. He goes, parks in the alley at the annex, parks in the alley at the museum, whatever the case is. He's driving his own truck right now, which is not fair to him. And wear the county truck out and.
Well, I think we
That's
still.
great for Rick.
Yeah, I think we
Still
still
got
have
three other crews that, plus housekeeping, you gotta get to different locations. I mean, we can revisit, look at something, do something different on the Polaris. But bottom line, they still need another vehicle. And a smaller
But
vehicle.
why wouldn't they take the mule over there to the
Because
annex?
the mule's probably gonna be being used by the groundskeeping crew to do groundskeeping work. It's, unless we get 2 mules
Here at the courthouse?
in all the downtown properties.
Well, I mean, you could buy 2 mules and still only spent $24,000.
Yeah,
You can buy 3 mules and spend less than the price of that machine we just seen. And we still need to put Rick in his county truck and he drives it wherever he goes, so he knows he's on call all the time.
Truck is not the budget.
And here's one thing I kind of think about too. Trucks and truck toolboxes are kind of set up for security. If we are hauling around tools in this mule or this whatever, you're not going to be able to have it fully stocked of everything in there anyway, and it's accessible to be theft a lot easier. Whether you're parking it in the alley or out here in the courthouse parking lot or wherever. I don't know. I'm just voicing my concern.
Enterprise to replace the 2 vehicles that we have.
Ricky?
So if I may, the thought process behind this is, you know, at first it was like, well, we'll get 2 mules, okay? But we did want to have a plow attachment. We thought that'd be a good idea to have for when you need it. Well, then it comes down to a mule doesn't have enough weight to push a plow or anything. I mean, you gotta have some weight. You gotta have 4-wheel drive, you gotta have, you know, and then if you're out there and you're doing this at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're 0 degrees, you're in an enclosed cab, you got some heat, you got a windshield wiper, you can defrost, you can see what you're doing and do your job. So that was just one aspect of it, but just being able to have easy in and out of the buildings and access to the buildings without having to cause, can be a real pain when you're trying to move material and do jobs at the other buildings. I mean, and then just the general walking back and forth routinely, you know, it's, like I said, I mean, yeah, it's really good exercise, but some of us don't need that
Carrying a
much
5-gallon
exercise.
barrel of paint, it's not.
Well, and that's why I think the mule, I don't think there's any, it sounds like everyone's on board with the mule and understanding its utility. On the snowplow issue, because that's a legitimate one, while it may only be once or twice a year, every other year, that is something. Do we have no plows? The pickups just wouldn't work for that, or?
Not when you're doing sidewalks.
No.
That's what they do. They take care of the sidewalks.
I was thinking
Precinct 1
parking
takes
lots,
care of the
but-
parking lots.
Okay.
So, but they do the sidewalks, and when they're, rather than getting out there and hand shoveling, a couple of years ago, we had the annex with the ice storm, hand shoveling, we spent crew out there all day long just to shovel that north sidewalk.
Let me ask this, since we do have that $40,000 number, is there a model of the Polaris or whatever it might be that's out there that still accomplishes what you need but may not have quite the level of bells and whistles that would come in at a low enough number to put the 2 together, and it's?
You know, that was another, you know, there's so many different brands, tons of brands of these, and yes, we can shop a lot of.
Well, I mean, y'all already did shop on this,
Right.
so no, you did your homework on that front. But.
We can shop many more brands.
But now, we're not getting a snowplow at this price included, right? There's no blade attachment that,
Yeah.
oh, it comes with
Yeah,
it?
it's
It's in the
included
$34,000
Yeah,
deal?
Yes.
Now, is that gonna be something that you're going to have to attach ahead of time, or it always is mounted on that thing?
It'll be where you can attach it when you need it.
Okay.
It'll probably be a quick hitch.
But there's no way that you could do from just, let's say, a plow attachment to the mule, you scrape the excess snow off, and then you lay salt down on those sidewalks in a very abundant manner, and burn that off in just 30 minutes and turn that to wet, and it's not freezing, even though it's freezing outside. There's sloppy wet because that salt burns through that ice line in New York second. Would that not also suffice? And then have a mule that wears the snowplow all the time, and you don't have to worry about 3 o'clock in the morning hooking that blade up and it all being cold and the hydraulic not going in.
I don't know if you want somebody driving around all the, you know, picking up trash and everything with a plow on the front of the vehicle.
Well, it would just be the width of the tires. I mean, I drive around with a cattle guard on the front of my pickup all the time.
It's
No, it's
wider
wider.
than the tire. It has to be wider than the tires because you'll pack the snow right against your tire.
Well, you're also cutting the grass because that's wider than the sidewalk.
Yes, it's a 72 inch.
Yeah, the sidewalk's how wide, Rick, just like in front of the courthouse.
I'd probably say 48.
So
foot.
your blade's sticking over in the grass and you're ripping it up as you go.
Well, hopefully the grass is
Why-
below the level of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But why,
May not
but
be
why
in
wouldn't you
places.
just cut
Usually
the
the grass
majority
is
of the sidewalk off and salt it? And not be hanging out with such a wide plow?
It'll kill the grass.
That's a valid point, Jeff. And really, honestly, what we've been doing is just shoveling it and putting ice melt down. And that's a process that works as well.
Luckily, every time it snows in this county, we're
But
close.
it's not as quick generally.
And,
Guys may slip down.
well, no, but it's just, it is what it is.
We're not
It's not,
careful.
there's not a perfect solution for this. And
No.
definitely not trying to make a perfect solution, just trying to make a solution that can serve multiple points, not just ice and snow is not my only challenge
Yeah.
with this, or what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to also achieve the fact of being able to easily drive around county buildings, get access into county buildings. We could, as wide as the sidewalk is, the annex, we can stop and park on the sidewalk. And we should be fine.
Are we allowed to do that legally, I wonder? I mean, it's our building, I realize, but are we gonna get,
City of
ATVs
Wichita
drive
Falls
around the
come-
city?
yeah.
I mean, the city of Wichita Falls is gonna be like, hey, y'all can't be parking there, everybody else has to. I mean, cause they can drive them on the street now, right? So can they park their ATV on the sidewalk too?
All right.
I mean, I don't know.
If you're doing maintenance work, typically they don't.
Yeah.
But Rick, all I'm saying on that blade scenario is that if it's not equipped to the machine, and I equate it to a plug-in winch on the back in front of my old work truck. So I can drive around with it all the time, just fine and dandy, but it bumps into everything when you pull up to the store and they've got curb stuff, you're liable to hit it. That's okay. But nevertheless, if you're
You on the curb, it's not okay.
It's really no different than our sand spreaders that we put on the back of our dump trucks before a snow event. We know the snow's coming, we stop for a day and we attach all of our spreaders.
I
Yeah,
agree,
but-
you can't leave it on a machine.
But here's my scenario. It is 2 years ago, freezing cold snap that ruined our electricity, okay? The second day in of that miserable weather, it snows 6 inches. We don't have any power to speak of, and you need the guy to come. We're gonna be closed, but we're gonna go ahead and scrape the sidewalks. You get the guy to come down here and hook that attachment. It's 3 degrees outside, maybe 6. The wind's blowing really hard.
Before, it's like we do on our sand spreaders, we know it's coming.
We're really, really, really cold. And you try to hook up and the hydraulic will not plug into the mule. It just won't plug in. It's too cold outside. And there's no way to fix it. And we didn't prepare for this because we didn't realize that it was actually gonna be 6 degrees. So we didn't put it on back when it was 3 days earlier. We didn't put it on when it was 72.
Then we bring our maintenance people before commissioners court and ask them why they didn't do their job. Just like we would scold our precinct foreman for not doing their job.
Jeff, on that, this particular setup, it's not hydraulic, it's powered by the winch itself. The winch raises it up, the winch lets it down. So you do that with the winch control inside. So, you do have joints that it rides on, but there's no hydraulic fluid or
Let's
anything
make
like
this
that
easy
driving
today.
it.
We've argued about everything arguable at this point. Let's go ahead and take motion on the Kawasaki's.
So you're making the motion to
Let's,
approve the
let's,
Hill?
let's approve the Eddie Hill Kawasaki at this point, because it's.
Which is the mule,
It's the
Okay.
mule.
just one.
Just one at this point. I'll revisit with Rick to look if there's other options that may suit us, suit our needs for the Polaris, and come back with another recommendation to the court.
And what's housekeeping gonna do in the meantime while this mule is being tied up with yard service?
Housekeeping has the the Nissan Versa that they use to go to.
And housekeeping's probably not gonna be using a mule anyway.
No, this is two vehicles specifically for maintenance.
And I could see,
And I don't disagree that Rick
Well,
needs to pick
I
up.
thought-
and
I thought
since
you
we
said,
brought it
Mark-
up, it's gonna be on the budget for next year.
I thought just so I understand, that instead of buying the $37,000 other deal, and buying Rick a pickup with all the toolboxes in it, he can go to where he at, you said that wouldn't be fair to housekeeping.
I didn't say anything about being fair to housekeeping. Didn't say
You
a
said,
thing.
well, with the housekeeping, that would be
I didn't
okay
say
for Rick, but what would other maintenance do? What would
Other
other housekeeping
maintenance.
do?
We've got 3 maintenance crews plus Rick.
Okay, and you're
We
buying
have 2
one
pickups.
You're buying one Polaris. Why wouldn't we would buy immediately 2 Polaris and you're only at $24,000? You
Or the
budgeted
mule.
40?
He's making his motion is to buy one mule.
One Kawasaki at this point.
That's right. I understand that one.
And to come back with another recommendation, it's obvious that the court does not feel
Right.
that this Polaris is a good expense. I'm willing to concede that, taking a, and
Yeah.
we'll go back and.
and the mule might be handy for running all over too.
Yeah,
Who
I
knows
think
what
it-
it's
Right.
gonna be like.
I'm still of the belief that Polaris would be a good value for us overall, but I would be willing to come back with a different set of recommendations, and possibly this may be the recommendation.
Okay, second.
Maybe we need to do segways instead.
We've got those. We got about 20 of them stuffed back in the.
All right, so we got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Fincannon for the Eddie
And I was against
Hills,
all of them.
for the Eddie Hills quotes for the mule at 12,144. Oh no, that does include the accessories. Okay. The Eddie Hills bid of 12,144.89.
Yeah. Did the mule have any accessories that went with it?
It does.
It has a top and a windshield.
And they're included in that number.
They're including in that cost.
Yeah.
No windshield wipers or anything extra. It's not. I think
Okay.
cool.
All right.
You don't need them. They don't go that fast.
We'll readdress this at a later date.
Okay. So there was an eclipse yesterday. All right, we've got the motion. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, the motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Item number 5, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve Johnson Controls proposals to repair chillers at the LEC and the courthouse due to leaking high-pressure relief valves. Each proposal is for $13,464.36 to be paid from Departments 511 and 510 respectively, with lines determined by the county auditor. Ricky?
No, I really have some problems with this first. No, just joking. Ricky, do, I was gonna say that.
Well, there actually is some problems with it.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, okay.
So the verbiage or the words are kind of mixed up because this says the LEC. There's no, this is chillers
Jail
here at
cooler.
the courthouse. And so we refer to, one of the chillers is a courthouse chiller, the other one's a jail chiller. But the jail's gone, but that's just the.
Did you
names they've
write
been
that
given.
up, Rick, and put LEC in there and then realize that?
No.
I put LEC because it said jail.
Cause it said jail.
Oh.
It should all be on a 510.
It's just like a
There is no
word and
separation
picture
in it.
association thing. But what I would like to do, obviously, is get that changed to where that's, because those are both courthouse chillers. And I would like to suggest we do one chiller, which is the courthouse chiller, because it actually has an active issue with low refrigerant that Johnson Controls has identified on multiple chillers like these. And it's a pop-off valve, so if the pressure gets too high, and this pop-off valve they used, and that when they threaded it into the fitting, they're dissimilar metals and they use the wrong type of thread lock compound. So they're got some leaks, problems with leaks on them. And so it's a common problem, the guy said. Of course, they're not running around fixing them for everybody for free, but they're just letting you know it's a common problem. So what has to happen is all the refrigerant for that circuit has to be removed, which is 175 pounds of 134A. Then they make the repair. There's dryer cores that keep moisture out of the refrigerant that has to be swapped out. And then they put everything back together, evacuate the system to 500 microns, make sure there's no leaks, introduce the refrigerant back into it. When they take the refrigerant out, we know exactly how much refrigerant is going to be required to replace what leaked out. So when all that comes out, we weigh it and we know that we're going to have to say we're going to have 30 pounds, 40 pounds shortage because of what's leaked. Then we'll provide the refrigerant so we're not paying a markup on that and get the system back to its original charge. Each chiller has 2 circuits that are identical. So they would do one at a time, leave one running, do one at a time, then switch. And so it's both circuits, fixing both circuits.
For those of us in the audience who are not former air conditioning folks, can you summarize that in what you're actually wanting us to do? Not 2 proposals, just one, or
Yes.
completely change up what?
So just to do a proposal, the proposal for the 13,464 would be for one chiller.
Do the courthouse chiller.
For the new
For the courthouse.
For the courthouse
And then
chiller.
do
And it
the,
would be which department? 511 or
510.
No,
510?
it's all gonna be 510. 511 is the LEC.
Okay.
and then next year,
I think,
we'll come
yeah.
back and do the same
I
thing.
think next year, I think we'll, at
Do we
this
need to
point,
wait
we're
till
fine
next
on the other one,
Okay.
as long as it doesn't just pop
I mean, it
off.
depends on
Great.
how
So
this one
moved,
goes.
Judge.
If we get it all done, it might be. Is there any reason to wait till
Still
next year?
discussing whether
Just
or
the
not to do one or
cost.
two.
Just cost.
It's not gonna get cheaper next year.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at.
I mean, we could go ahead and spend the whole amount and do both of them. They both
Because
need it.
the need is there for both of them.
The need is there. The jail chiller eventually, because it's losing some refrigerant, because there's oil present, so you know it's losing some. At some point, it will have to have this done. But I was thinking if we get this one, and then we can budget the next one, we can do it then, or.
Are we using that jail chiller now? Is it?
Oh, yeah,
Is it?
oh, yeah, it supplies half the building.
And
It's just not showing as bad on that chiller.
But at least they are replacing the desiccant while they've got it down, which is,
or what are they doing on the 2 different metals? Are they drilling that out and retapping it and putting a different type of metal in there?
Well, right now, it's just a matter of the sealant
Yes,
that was in
they're
between the threads doesn't hold up to the refrigerant oil.
Okay.
So they're using a different sealant. So they pull it out, clean it up, put a different type of sealant in there and reset it.
Okay.
missed it by that much. Is what your mouth said. But it does have maintenance going on because they're replacing the desiccant while they're in there, which is a maintenance type deal that has to be done every so often. So it's not just a complete, loss of function when, just because somebody put the wrong comment on there. But
well, and it's that is a very, very expensive machine out there. And if you don't do certain things when you should do it, you have the risk of costing yourself an awful lot of money.
you don't want it to escalate.
So,
I think that's why I would suggest doing them both.
I don't see there's any reason not to do them both and get them.
why they were both put on there.
It's not if it's gonna fail, it's gonna fail.
Yeah, right, yeah, the process has started actually
Yeah.
on both of them.
It should just say to repair 2 chillers at the
Yep.
courthouse to be
Yeah.
paid from Department 510. I know
And
it
it will
refers to
not-
it as the jail, but there is no jail
Right.
anymore, it's not.
No, it's
considered.
just,
It
that's just
will
how
not be.
they're.
I know,
that's the
I
nomenclature.
completely understand why.
It will not be cheaper a year.
Well, that, and yeah, when Commissioner Fincannon said that
Yeah.
The jail
rings
chiller's
true.
actually older than the courthouse
Yeah,
chiller.
refrigerant will be higher.
So Commissioner Watts, good with the motion to do both of them?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh,
Well, either, Mickey's fine.
all right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Fincannon to approve both Johnson Controls proposals to repair chillers at the courthouse. Each proposal is to be paid from Department 510. The line is determined by the county auditor. Anyone have any questions or comments on that motion or the item itself? That clear enough for what you all need? Okay. All right, the motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 6, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve that all modifications, amendments to previously approved court orders be reflected in those original minutes for future reference. Real quick, this is what I talked about last week.
Yeah.
We modify a court order in the past. We will make note of that in those minutes, that just off to the side, that court order was modified by the future court order on that date.
Okay.
That way, we're not changing the original language at all in the minutes. We're just making sure that anyone going back and looking at those old minutes
Would know.
knows they need to follow the breadcrumb
So
trail.
how far back? Through all of eternity, or?
This would just be moving forward.
Okay.
Starting today, we would be doing
No,
this.
that's, no, but what I'm asking is, do we search all of our records to go back, like our open county order?
No,
Or
this would just
whatever,
be when
and-
you've got a specific, when anyone brings a specific modification to a court order.
Okay.
Moving
Then
forward, we would
we're
change
actually
those.
modifying the
Right.
court order that we're
Correct.
aware of.
Move
Right.
to accept, Judge.
Second. Not to complicate things.
Yeah, 'cause if you searched, you might find the wrong information.
And we
Yeah.
have,
And we have,
and that's
yeah.
why I wanted to do this. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, motion's before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We already took care of 7. So number 8, receive update on courthouse renovation, elevator projects, and county courthouse annexes.
The biggest thing to report is the water leak at the Sprague Annex. So we did have another significant water leak in the Vernon College area. It took out 5 or 6 classrooms. They called Service Master before we got there, so they were already in response by the time we got there. It looks like we're gonna lose sheetrock on one classroom and part of a hallway. So luckily it was pretty
People were
contained.
there,
It
and-
happened when people were there. The second part to that is what happened is we blew a plug out of a joint in pipe, and that's not the first time that's happened. So what we're going to do is maintenance staff is going to take a look at all that pipe, and then we'll have a plumber actually do all the replacements, so it's bonded, et cetera, because we're over the classrooms and equipment that doesn't.
So it wasn't a roof deal, that's what.
No, it was not a roof.
Okay.
It was a plumbing pipe again, busting in the ceiling. Which I believe that's the 3rd time that's happened in that building. So
That same issue all 3 times with the, or
I know of 2 times that's been the issue. I don't recall what was the exact problem back in the Thanksgiving flood. Courthouse annex project and the courthouse projects, still about where we were last week, just continue on that same process. The progress is going great on both projects. They're actually hanging sheetrock in the 30th this morning, so we did have, snuck out Friday, had a meeting with our tech folks, making sure we're getting things in place in order to accept technology. That'll be back on the agenda for next week for approval. So other than that, things are looking good.
all right. Any questions on this item? Comments on this item?
It does, it looks great.
Okay, so at this time, we will be moving into closed session for a briefing and discussion with Wichita County District Attorney's Office and with the Commissioner's Court to receive legal advice from its attorney regarding water drainage from Island Park to Wichita County or other matters for which the attorney's duties to their client under the Texas State Bar, disciplinary rules of professional conduct, conflict with the Open Meetings Act. This time I'd like to ask for everyone except commissioners and our attorney to clear the chamber.
Now, could we not hold Van and Dwayne and Brendan?
I don't know why they would need to be for this.
Y'all don't want to pull up and show the area we're talking about on camera?
I mean,
It's up to y'all, it's not neither here
no,
nor there.
I
the
think on
area.
this one it would be best to clear the chamber.
And Dwayne doesn't need to be either?
No.
Okay.
Are we
Good deal.
officially out of session? I need to make a phone call real quick.
We are, yeah, we are.
Okay,
now.
let me sneak out and make a phone call.
things that I printed out for Jeff when we bring in.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Chili.
Chili's.
Do what?
We're back in open session. We will be taking some action if approved by the court. I am going to make the motion that we enter into a retainer agreement with Allison Bass and McGee for assistance with issues regarding Wichita County versus Iowa Park, and also to instruct retained counsel to send a notification letter to the City of Iowa Park for assistance dealing with drainage issues. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We've got a motion by me, seconded by Commissioner Watts. Any discussion on that before we vote? Okay, the motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. It is 1:22, and court is adjourned.